nothing heavy. But, it could be some through the drive time this morning. A 30% chance of a shower or two in the area. So be advised of that as you are getting up and getting out. You're wearing your President's Cup gear today. I like that pullover.
Yeah, man. It's nice. It's light, but, man, it feels like I needed a heavier one today for some reason. It's cool. That wind starts blowing.
Wind's
Still blowing out there.
Wind is up for sure. Gusty yesterday. I told you it would be, and it was. And, so you might want to grab that pullover again today. Ty Henderson is here as well. We've got a lot to dive into. What a scene yesterday on the 40 acres. It was a great night last night for the Longhorns down in Aggieland in front of the frenzied crowd at Bluebell Field there. Let's get to the headlines, trending topics, including that big win for the Horns. UBO Business Services. Longhorns hold on for a 5-2 win last night at College Station. Their 15th consecutive win for David Pierce. Longhorns jumped out to an early 2-0 lead, two-spot in the first thanks to the red-hot Porter Brown. He was named the Big 12's Player of the Week yesterday and started the first inning with a 2 RBI double. Longhorns added another run in the third, 2 more in the eighth. Actually had 15 hits last night. Could have done more damage, but still got the 5 runs on the board. 5 Texas pitchers, meanwhile, held the Aggies to just 6 hits, allowed single runs in the first and sixth inning. LeBaron Johnson Jr. started the game, earned the win with 3 innings. Head coach David Pierce went to a pair of his weekend workhorses, too, to preserve the W, as Friday starter Lucas Gordon threw 15 pitches and worked a scoreless 7th. Zane Morehouse recorded the final 6 outs for the save. Now, it didn't come without drama. Morehouse put the first 2 runners aboard in the 9th inning with a walk and then a hit batter, but he pitched through it. Coach did fielder's choice, then a strikeout, got the final out to the plate.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Morehouse, the stretch, and the 0-2 pitch to Cason Wells. Strike 3 called, got him looking, and the ball game is over. Nightmare comes through with another save, a 6-out save, and the Longhorns have beaten the Aggies for the first time in 5 years.
That's right. Craig Way with the call last night right here on the Horns. The Horns' first win in College Station since 2011. Their first win over Texas A&M since 2018 for a happy head coach, David Pierce.
We just need to keep doing it. Every single day, come out with such a positive attitude and just see how we can get better and get ready for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's right. 17th ranked Oklahoma State is the challenge this weekend. 3 in Stillwater beginning on Friday. Earlier in the day on the 40, it was Rodney Terry, and that era of Texas men's basketball officially began as Terry formally introduced as the permanent head coach of the program in front of a jam-packed house. The entire team was there. The 55-year-old Angleton native played collegiately at St. Ed's, was previously a head coach at Fresno State and UTEP before coming back to Austin as associate head coach for Chris Beard last season, and as this opportunity is once in a lifetime.
Like I always say to my guys every day, it's a great day to be alive, man. It's a great day to be a Longhorn.
Yeah, it certainly was. He will take over moving forward. Also from college basketball, what a finish last night in Vegas. North Texas topped Wisconsin 56-54 in the NIT semifinals. Mean Green closed the game on a 10-0 run to rally and steal the win and advance to the NIT championship game for the first time in program history. They're going to face a very familiar foe tomorrow night, UAB, who edged Utah Valley in the other semi last night in Vegas. So the championship game will be the 4th meeting this season between the 2 Conference USA rivals. Also from college hoops, to the reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Keontae George from Baylor announced that he is declaring for the NBA draft. Speaking of the NBA Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2023 announced yesterday, and what an incredible class it is. Dwayne Wade, all-time Maverick Dirk Nowitzki, Pau Gasol, Spurs legend Tony Parker have all been selected, along with Spurs head coach Greg Popovich and WNBA legend Becky Hammon.
How about 15 in a row? Wow.
Yeah,
and it seemed like that score was going to be like 12-2.
Yeah, they had 15 hits last night. They had a couple of opportunities where they had 4 straight singles in the.
I thought they were going to break it wide open.
Yeah, they had their chances, and Aggies made some big pitches in big spots, and Longhorns. You kind of felt like that was a game that, man, we should be up big, and all of a sudden there's 2 on in the 9th, and Zane Morehouse though pitches through it. You can tell how important that was to David Pierce to get the win. I mean, and it's one of those RPI victories on the road against an SEC team. It's the Aggies, of course, and Longhorns haven't won there in a long time. David Pierce has never won there as head coach of Texas, and to go down there and get that win in front of 8,000 hostile Aggies was a nice one. And pitching staff did a great job. But yeah, 5-2 the final. They are finding ways, and as we've talked about, the roles have been defined. The star players that you're going to lean on or rise into the top. Saying David Pierce really wanted to win. To go to Lucas Gordon on a Tuesday night. Of course, he's your Friday horse.
Right.
He came in and pitched, and Coach had said afterwards he expects him to start on Friday. He only threw 15 pitches. It was efficient. He struck out a couple batters, but that was a big bridge inning to get those 3 outs in the 7th, to then go to Zane Morehouse for a 6-out save in the 8th and the 9th. But that's become the Friday combination for the Longhorns to be able to win and close ball games. I mean, it's pretty clear now that Zane Morehouse has become the closer of the baseball team.
Oh, yeah, I love that kind of seemed like stress-free kind of innings he had,
Yeah.
Just cruise on through there.
Well, I mean,
get the good calls.
That what you want in a closer, right, is the heart rate doesn't get up. The blood pressure doesn't rise. You have to have it. Those final 3 to 6 outs are the toughest outs to get in a baseball game. And to see that last night, he walked the first batter, and then he hit the second batter, left-hander, kind of up on his elbow. Wasn't too wild of a pitch. He was just trying to pitch to the inside corner, and it got him, nipped him on his elbow, inside of his arm. So now you have 2 aboard and nobody out on the road, and the Aggies are all crazy. Then your second baseman, Jack O'Dowd, boots a double play ball. Fortunately, he got the 1 out at first.
Got one, though.
But that's one where you're like, oh, no. Now they're second and third, and, single knocks in a couple, and the tying runs at the plate, and he pitched right through it, got a couple of strikeouts. Now, there was a moment there, they did a challenge at first base on a close pickoff, a challenge on a pickoff play.
It's close.
At second base, they ended up losing the challenge, but what that did, Buck, was give Zane Morehouse a chance to calm down. I think that was part of it, too, was to calm down.
Take a deep breath, yeah.
Take a deep breath. You got some warm-up pitches again to kind of – because that's allowed when you're doing a long challenge to go ahead and stay loose. So I think that helped Zane Morehouse a little bit. He comes back with back-to-back punch-outs, and he is picked up another save. So, yeah, he's now the closer, right? He was your Saturday starter to start it, but the redshirt junior has grabbed that role at the back end of the bullpen and done a great job. I thought LeBaron Johnson Jr. was solid in the game last night, and really what you're seeing is the hitting coming together, Buck. We know last year's team, historically great offensively, and we weren't sure what this year's baseball team was going to be for the Longhorns. But, man, Peyton Powell is playing at an all-conference, all-American level. He's batting .416 now after last night's games. Here's a guy, Buck, through the first, what are you sitting now, at 19-7, so you played 26 games so far this year. This guy has got 53 total bases, and he's only struck out 6 times all year long. He bats in that 2-hole from the left side and just gives you great at-bat after great at-bat. His OPS is up over 1,200 now. He was on base seemingly all night long. Eric Kennedy is the 6th-year senior who's playing like one. Porter Brown continues to deliver big hits in the middle of the order. Garrett Gumet is doing his thing. So your lineup's coming together. The defense and the pitching staff coming together right at the right time, Buck. It's late March. You're into April, and now the meat of conference play is here. And you'll play at Stillwater, Oklahoma, starting on Friday night. So good baseball. 15 in a row. Longest winning streak in the nation right now for any team. 15 straight. And the Aggies are scuffling. A lot of
straight wins by any kind of sport.
Yeah, so let's get some poor Aggie conversation going now. The Aggies are scuffling a little bit right now.
They are struggling, aren't they? They had their opportunities last night.
They did, and only 6 hits for the Aggies, and that's that. When you look at the team stats for the Aggies, they got some issues. They don't pitch great,
no,
and their hitting is they're all right. This is kind of that transition year for the Aggies, of course, who were in Omaha last year. They ended the Longhorn season in Omaha last year. With that second win, of course, the Longhorns got to Omaha and lost to Notre Dame, turned around, lost to Texas A&M, and Longhorns get a little bit of revenge. That was bigger, on the bigger stage, but this was a nice win for the Texas Longhorns on the road. What'd you make of the Rodney Terry press conference yesterday? I thought, man, to see him to get a standing ovation as he walked in, his entire team was there. It
was kind of cool to see that some of the old folks there.
A lot of energy.
Packed. He had a lot of energy in there. You're right. Energy is the word.
DeLoss Dodds was there.
Yep.
Made the trip in from Horseshoe Bay. Did to, of course, be there and support, which was cool to see. I mean, it was a good day for Texas basketball. I mean, as we talked about yesterday to start the show, as badly as things could have gone off the rails back in December and into January when this Chris Beard situation went down, it's landed smoothly for everybody. Rodney Terry seems to be the right guy for the job. The team loves him, and the players play for him. All the former players that showed back up to be there. TJ Ford, who was with us yesterday, was there, and we talked to him at the end of the show on his way to the press conference. There's just a lot of positivity in and around the program right now. It feels like coming off a 29 win season.
Yeah, and they will hit the ground work. They know they've got to hit the ground going.
Yeah,
as of now.
They do. And that's what Rodney Terry was asked. But it was Brock Cunningham, his own player, who stepped up and asked the last question, what are you going to do? What's your first thing you're going to do as the coach of the Longhorns? And he said, I'm going to meet with you. I'm going to meet with the team. And really haven't had a chance to talk to you guys since we've gotten back from Kansas City.
Yeah, probably not a lot of one-on-ones. They've been doing so much team stuff. Now you can start talking to guys one-on-one and then get ready to.
Yeah, you got to meet with the guys are leaving, right? We know there are 4 key guys that aren't going to be back. Marcus Carr, Christian Bishop, Sir Jabari Rice, and Timmy Allen, who are all there yesterday. They're all moving on. They're out of eligibility.
Got to say goodbye to them.
Yep, and try to help them with the next phase of their lives and careers. And then yes, talk to the guys who can come back and see who wants to be there, and then start diving into the portal. And
absolutely,
keeping this freshman class in place. And I didn't see, Ty, did you watch any of the McDonald's All-American game last night?
I did not.
That was last night. I was watching the ball game, so I didn't get to see that. But that's Ron Holland, the Longhorn top recruit, was there playing in that game. And by all accounts, the kid from Duncanville has just torn up the week because they have a week of workouts ahead of the game last night.
Yeah, I saw some of the scrimmaging during the week.
He was one of the stars there, man. That guy's an impact player coming in from Duncanville, Texas. Also, A.J. Johnson, the point guard from the West Coast, rolling in here. And we learned yesterday from our friend Jerry Hamilton of Inside Texas that Rodney Terry, one of the things he brings to this job are incredibly long-standing connections. Not just in Texas, on the West Coast. Of course, he coached at Fresno State for 5 or 6 years. He actually recruited A.J. Johnson. Part of the reason he's coming to Texas is his relationship with Rodney Terry that was built with his older brother when he was at Fresno State back in the day. And that's just one of the things that you learn about Rodney Terry pretty quickly. He's got an infectious way of connecting with people. The relationships are long-standing. He talked yesterday and gave credit to C.C. Collier. The first head coach he worked under was at Bowie High School.
Yeah, I heard CC along with Zay and Chad yesterday.
Yeah, I figured that Zay would get his pops on to talk about that. That was cool. Maybe we'll try to pull some of that sound because CC's about as good as a guy as you're going to get. But yeah, that was he came out of St. Edwards and started getting into coaching. And his first
football coaching
at the middle school level, coaching the freshman team at Bowie, and and remember CC Coach Collier there at Bowie had already been a college head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was the head coach. He was one of the youngest head coaches ever down at Southwest Texas State.
Southwest Texas State.
And he's told that story, though. CC wanted to get the college coaching, traveling too much, he felt like, in the recruiting, and he wanted to put down some roots. So he took a high school coaching job at Bowie, and gosh, he was there ever since. But that's where Rodney Terry, he said yesterday that it was his first. He wanted to be a college head coach. That was his dream, and working for CC helped because CC had been a college head coach, and he was able to kind of point him in a good direction. And now here he is at 55 years old with all the energy in the world, and it'll be a fun run now to see where
he
this
does
thing
have a
can go.
lot of energy.
Doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, and he can talk.
He can go.
He can go. But that was a positive day for the Longhorns on what has been at times a negative year. For the program and for what's gone on, and now here it is in good hands. And Chris Beard's off to Ole Miss. Rodney did reveal yesterday that Chris Beard reached out to him yesterday, congratulated him. I'm assuming if you're Chris Beard and you aren't going to be able to have this job any longer, which was your alma mater and your dream job, because of what went on, you're happy that Rodney Terry is able to take it and continue to build on what was in place. And somebody you hired, one of your first hires when Chris Beard got here, was reaching out to Rodney Terry and see if he'd leave UTEP. That's also a cool story from yesterday, Buck, that Rodney told that during COVID, while he was still the coach at UTEP, bought a house in South Austin right there.
No, he's always wanted to live here.
Yeah.
This is where he wanted to be.
And he says, God put your feet where they need to be. And just think about that he bought the house there right there down north of St. Edwards there.
No, he didn't have a fancy palace anywhere.
No, it's right there between St. Ed's and downtown.
Comfortable.
And,
it's home.
Bought that during COVID, knowing eventually whenever it was where he wanted to live, so he made the investment at that time. But not long after that, Chris Beard calls him and says, "Hey, you want to come be my top assistant down here in Austin?" And he said, "Let's do it." And obviously, it's led to this and the opportunity in December to take over the program. And as Chris Del Conte said yesterday, give him the whistle. And Jay Hartzell, the president of the university, called it the longest job interview ever, and he did a heck of a job between December and then. What we saw this past Sunday. So Rodney Terry, now the head coach at Texas, will take your thoughts.
Good stuff for him.
512.
Good stuff for everybody,
337-3776.
And it's great for the players that will remain here, too, to have him still back here.
Yeah, and that's why I say Chris Beard's got to be happy about it, that there's going to be not just, you bring in a brand new coach from outside, he's going to hire his own staff, and it's another, complete turnover. This is a lot of consistency in the program moving forward when it could have gone a different direction for sure for the Texas Longhorns. So I think the recruiting class stays intact, and they'll be – it felt like there's, those guys that have an opportunity to come back are going to want to be a part of this program, the Tyrese Hunters, Dylan Mitchell, Arterio Morris. No guarantees, but
no.
You hope you have a real solid base and foundation to build on. The big name's going to be Dylan DeSue. Does he come back? He's got an opportunity to come back, or does he want to start his pro career, Buck, and see what that looks like for him?
Or does he want to start his life career?
Yeah, well,
he's been playing a long time.
Well, all those guys, they want to keep playing until.
Well, some do, and some want to go into business and other things that some of them have had. Some guys have had enough. There are truly some guys that would like to move on in their lives instead of practice and do this. Yeah, they all want to be first-round draft picks, but they play school. I mean, some of them do play school.
Well, I got to think Dylan DeSue, coming off a tournament most outstanding player at the Big 12 tournament, the way he played in the first weekend of March Madness and then not being able to play, I mean, that's not the way you want that to finish, I would think. But the question becomes, does he want to try his hand professionally, or does he want to come back and, as you said, play school and play one more college basketball year? Because, look, Dylan DeSue's not an NBA player right now, but the G League is there. There's an opportunity there. There's leagues all over the world where you can go get paid to play basketball and make pretty good money doing that as well. And Dylan DeSue, he played his best basketball at the biggest moments this year. Kind of feels like since he transferred in from Vanderbilt that he finally found his confidence, found his offensive game, and it really came together for him. Really unfortunate that the Longhorns didn't have him, because if he had stayed healthy, they may still be playing into the Final Four this weekend. But obviously, season ended on Sunday.
Yeah, that was tough for him. That was tough for the team.
Yeah.
They really missed him in that basketball game.
Of all the bad luck, I mean, that was right at the worst moment. And, as we saw against Miami on Sunday.
Not a knee injury, not the knee, but
just
the foot.
A bone bruise.
Yeah.
Bone bruise in your foot. And then, you go back to the Miami game. Jim Larinaga, the coach of the Hurricanes, goes to a 5-guard lineup. I mean, he's got 5 guards on the floor. And, gosh, if you had a healthy Dylan DeSue, he wouldn't have been able to do that, because you would have just torn him up on the other end of the floor. But, that's the way sports go.
Well, I wouldn't have doubted if the kid would have made every shot, because I watched it damn near, for the last month of the year. Everything he threw up went in.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about for the Longhorns. If you have Dylan DeSue, Jim Larinaga can't go to a 5-guard lineup in that spot, because Dylan would have just had his way on the other end. And that was part of the Longhorns' problem. When you stopped scoring and they started scoring down the stretch of that basketball game, we saw the same thing against Penn State. Penn State made a run, and it was Dylan DeSue over and over and over again down the stretch, making big buckets. Did not have that on Sunday, and the season came to an end. But the Rodney Terry era is underway for the Texas Longhorns. Texas baseball, nice win last night on the road, number 15 in a row. We'll talk about it with you. We'll also get back into the NFL. But it's so interesting. We'll get into this Lamar Jackson conversation, which continues. I saw there was a podcast. Richard Sherman, the longtime Seattle Seahawk defensive back, he and some guys were on a podcast talking about the Lamar Jackson situation, and they were upset at Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen for not holding the line and trying to get a guaranteed contract when they could have. And that's within the players' conversation. That's what's being discussed these days. That, Kirk Cousins, your guy with the Minnesota Vikings, got a fully guaranteed contract. And the next people up were Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott, quite honestly, for big contracts. Mahomes was the one that could have held the line and said, I want guaranteed money all the way through. Didn't. And signed a 10-year deal in Kansas City.
$500 million, almost $500 million worth. You're going to tell that guy that he's doing the wrong thing? Really?
Yeah. Well, look, to me, that's an example of why the baseball union is so strong, because Major League Baseball's union, they every contract that you do for yourself is also for everybody else, right? That's kind of the deal. It's been taught to the players throughout, and that's why they hold the line on things like that. In this case, if you're Patrick Mahomes, yeah, you want to make a lot of money playing quarterback, but you also realize that in a salary cap league,
I need to have some of my other players around. I need to be able to have people around me. It's not just me.
Yeah, because in baseball, there's no salary cap, right?
Yep.
There's luxury tax and there's thresholds and things of that nature. But in the NFL, there's a cap, and everybody has to play within the cap. And so Patrick Mahomes, much like Tom Brady for a long time, realized, my ability to win Super Bowls is predicated on the roster we can build around me. And if I'm going to demand guaranteed money, that takes away from the other parts of the team, correct?
That's right.
So, yes, if you're Richard Sherman and other players, you can criticize it because it's what's stalemating Lamar Jackson right now with the Baltimore Ravens. But at the same time, who just won the Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes.
Again, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. It has been shown over and over again. Quarterbacks on a rookie contract and then quarterbacks like Tom Brady who are willing to take less than market value to build a stronger roster to win Super Bowls. That's what wins. That's what allows you to win Super Bowls. If it's about making the absolute final dollar, every dollar you think you're owed, well, then okay, but you're probably going to be in a Cleveland Browns situation right now where their quarterback is a $54 million cap hit, which limits the ability for them to, add pieces around it in a salary cap league.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is making his money out of football also.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because he's winning Super Bowls, and that's what they want on TV. They want that face.
Yeah, he's endorsement deals.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes is not hurting for money at this point. Is he making the absolute market value for what his worth is? Well, no.
But he can go in there within a year and ask for more, and they'd say, okay, sure. You got 2 Super Bowls? Sure. What do you need?
Let's do another one.
Yeah.
Well, think about LeBron James, right? LeBron James in the NBA, he plays in a salary cap league too. If LeBron James was ever in an open market situation where he could go anywhere for the highest bidder, you know what? How much money would be worth? It's on a market value because you are what your value is.
Yeah, but those guys understand what it takes to win a championship.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's the difference between baseball, football, and capped league and non-capped leagues. All right, we'll talk about all those things. The NFL meetings continue. The annual owners meetings out in Phoenix. We get the very latest from that. Also, all the other top stories of the morning. How about the Mean Green of North Texas playing for an NIT championship? That was a high drama last night in Vegas. We'll review that. Craig Way has his report coming up. We've also got some B&E facts of the day as we're just getting warmed up on this hump day on B&E. Viking Fence, folks, the best fence company in Austin, Texas, without a doubt. I know you can say that's an opinion, but it's absolutely a fact if you do your due diligence. And go to VikingFence.com and learn why Viking Fence has been trusted in the Lone Star State and trusted throughout Central Texas since 1972. It's really just the investment they've made in building a higher quality and better fence for you, for your home or for your business. Their own on-site lumber mill where they produce the different grades of the Western Red Cedar. That's the only fence material they'll use for a wood privacy fence. They've discovered it's the best and the longest lasting. They also will pre-stain that Western Red Cedar, and with their pre-staining equipment, they've invested in that ability. Also, the on-site custom iron work for iron gates and handrails. The automated gate fabrication unit. It's everything. It's what they've done. They want to be able to control the raw materials and the quality from start to finish so that they give you the highest quality and bring you the most value. That's been their commitment for 50 years, and it will continue to be moving forward. So if you have a fence need of any kind, residential, commercial, certainly the temporary rental fence division as well, whatever it might be, Viking Fence is always the call at 837-6411. It's 512-837-6411. Or just go to that website. It's all there for you. You can see the galleries of work that they do. Learn the current promotions they've got going, get a quote, and go from there. It's a no-brainer. If you need a fence of any kind, fence project in Central Texas, it's Viking Fence, 837-6411. Online at VikingFence.com. When you think fence, think Viking. Busy Wednesday on B&E, as Buck mentioned, could be a little wet for your commute this morning. Could be. No guarantees. 30% chance of some rain. Talking Longhorn win 15 in a row and a win over the Aggies, somewhat avenging that loss in Omaha last year, but not all the way. We almost got the Sweet 16 last Friday night with the Longhorns and Aggies in college basketball, but the Aggies couldn't get it there, right?
No.
Couldn't get it there. But we got it last night, which is always good. And you can tell that David Pierce absolutely wanted that ball game, putting Lucas Gordon in the game as Friday night starter and Zane Morehouse for 6 outs at the end of it to close out a 5-2 victory for the Horns. Craig Way will have more on that coming up in the Craig Way report as the Longhorns are off to Stillwater now. But Aggies always like to beat the Longhorns. Longhorns always like to beat the Aggies.
It doesn't matter what sport it's in.
Doesn't matter.
Or it doesn't matter if it's a sport.
And here we are, not far away from being back together in the same conference. Whether the Aggies like it or not, I guess is the way you would put it, because Longhorns are headed to the Southeastern Conference.
And hopefully they'll be ready for it.
Yeah, well, I think they're ready for it in every sport. Football is the question, and is football going to get there? And what level will it be when it gets there? This year is a big determining,
I think
factor
so.
Of what kind of step it can take, because the 8-5.
I think I'll be able to tell if it's Mississippi State when it walks in there, or where they are competitive-wise after this year, I would think.
Well, I would say on paper right now it's better than Mississippi State. And is it Georgia? No.
Is it Alabama? No.
But we saw them play toe-to-toe with Alabama last year.
One game, yes.
Well,
on a consistent basis.
Yeah, you got to do it on a week-by-week basis. But the talent gap isn't that dramatic. And remember, that was an Alabama team that was alleged to be Nick Saban's best when the season began, with Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and Will Anderson and all that talent. And the Longhorns lost by a point and had an opportunity in that game. So, yeah, that's the question. How far is it from the SEC's top? But, yes, that's really the key, right? We've seen the Longhorns beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl that's back under Tom Herman. But we've seen them play toe-to-toe with LSU in a matchup. We've also seen them get scrubbed by Arkansas right up there in
beat
Fayetteville.
by Washington.
But, it's a week-by-week consistency that the program is looking for. We know there's pretty good talent at Texas right now.
There's no doubt about that, and growing.
Yeah, and maybe as good as it's been in more than a decade here at Texas, back to the Mac Brown era as far as overall talent, as the Longhorns are now through half of their spring practices. They've got 14 spring practices, so the 7th one was in the books yesterday, and then 7 more, and then they're going to play the spring game on the 15th of April. And, yeah, we'll all get to see it. But, that's the talent is building, and that's the one thing that you can say without, completely objectively about Steve Sarkisian. The ability for he and his staff to add talent to the roster is undoubted. The question is, can they coach that talent to a consistent week-by-week program that can play with anybody every Saturday?
It's the little things that matter. Because once the talent is there, it will be all about the little things that'll matter in quarters and certain times of games, the things that'll take you over the hump.
And not lose games you shouldn't lose.
That's for sure.
We talked about that last year after the Alabama loss, that really is the next step for this program, is becoming a winning program. Finding ways to win games.
Not having lapses.
Because this team is more as improved as they are in key places. They still seem to find ways to lose games, not find ways to win games in critical moments of football games. And that's obviously that's something Steve Sarkisian talks about a lot. Finishing games, finishing plays. The competition in this camp is important to find the best players who are going to step up in the biggest of moments.
Yeah, that's the part that just becomes a part of your culture. No, we don't lose that type of game.
Yeah.
We win that type of game. With 3 minutes to go in the game, we make the stops that we have to. We get the first downs that we have to. We won't turn the ball over. That's just what we do. I mean, once you get to that point, and those are just a part of what your culture is about.
Yeah.
And they'll get to that.
Well, because coming out of the Alabama game, that was what we said about Alabama. That team just finds ways to win a game. They didn't play good.
No, they played like crap that day.
And
they were made to play that way.
Yeah, Longhorns pushed them around. I mean, that was the exciting part. The Longhorn defensive front showed,
That's right.
we can bully Alabama. The Alabama defense was pretty good, but they also knocked out the Texas quarterback on a penalty in the first quarter of the game, or who knows
when
how that game goes.
You start getting to the point where you have two losses in a season, and that's not a good season for you.
Yeah, well, that's
Alabama.
the bar of
Alabama. Yeah,
and those 2 losses came on the final play of the game. They lost at LSU on the game's last play. They lost at Tennessee on the game's last play, and that turned
Yeah,
out
you
to
start
be
getting to that point where people are saying that's a terrible year for you, 2 losses. You're going in the right direction pretty much.
And, of course, they play at Alabama week 2 this year, at Alabama. And that's going to be, as we start to really get through the spring, get to see the Longhorns in the orange-white scrimmage and, Quinn Ewers at quarterback and how the running back room emerges. We know the offensive line is developing. Wide receiver room looks really good. Jatavion Sanders can be a stud at the tight end position. There's a lot to like about the team, both sides of the ball. And then you look over at Alabama. They're going to be Alabama, but they're replacing their best players at quarterback and defense on the defensive side. They're replacing both of their coordinators, offensive and defensive, and installing new systems. So, the Longhorns, when they go to Tuscaloosa next fall, will have more continuity and consistency in their program than Alabama does right now. They're installing right now a new offense, and obviously Nick Saban is the constant. As long as he's there, they're going to be Alabama.
Yeah, and when we talked to Jerry, was it yesterday we talked to him?
Jerry Hamilton, yep.
Yeah, it was very interesting for me to hear about a kid coming from wide receiver to the running back room and making an impact. And he notices, he knows about football. He knows about those specific kind of kids that make movements from one position because he's seen so many of those in his career that they make a move. And when they make a move, they become very effective immediately. That's weird. That kid must have been quite the athlete in high school.
Yeah, well, Jerry Hamilton was talking about Savion Red.
Savion Red to
making the move from receiver to running back.
And that he's a thumper. Those 4-yard runs are hard runs. That's different for a wide receiver to come back and do that.
Well, that's the most uncertain position maybe on the whole team is running back.
I would say,
running back and linebacker, really, I think is where you would start with who's going to move to the top of the depth chart. Jonathan Brooks, and remember they're kind of being very careful with Jonathan Brooks right now because he had hernia surgery after that Alamo Bowl where he played so well. But yeah, Savion Red, you think, well, wide receiver to running back, that seems weird. But remember, he was a running quarterback not long ago in high school. So running is his thing. That's when he was playing up in the Metroplex, he was a running quarterback who came here as just kind of an athlete. And, Steve Sarkisian says we let him play 1 full year at wide receiver. Now we're moving him back to running back. And we think over time we can have this hybrid player who can do a little bit of everything.
Sure.
He said we were spoiled when we got here that, Bijan Robinson was a great running back, but he was also just a natural receiver. So we could use him, and some would say not enough, in a lot of different places. He never had to leave the field, and we can put him in a lot of packages. That's how they hope they can do that a little bit with Keelan Robinson this year at running back, if his hands continue to improve and his ability to run routes. But Savion Red, they hope, can be that perfect hybrid player.
Sure.
Where he already knows the route tree from the receiver position, having played a year there. Now he's running in the running back room, and he can just be that ultimate weapon. But as Jerry Hamilton said to us yesterday, he's really opening some eyes at his ability just to run between the tackles.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be a running back. And that he's got that, he's a big kid. He's only 5'11", but he's 200 pounds. And
well, yeah, if he's a natural.
Stout.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's opening some eyes. And because he's getting an opportunity because they are taking it easy on Jonathan Brooks. Cedric, C.J. Baxter, the freshman, is here.
He's just learning the offense.
Jaden Blue is here, but that room, the whole group has a chance, and it appears at least through halfway through that Savion Red is making some noise.
Somebody has to be the running back. Somebody has to be the guy.
Yeah, he's going to be the lead, and even Steve Sarkisian, and we'll hear from him by the way. Steve Sarkisian was going to have a media availability yesterday. Normally on a Tuesday after practice they do, but they didn't want to get in the way of the Rodney Terry introduction, so they're going to do that tomorrow, after practice tomorrow. So we'll hear from Sark on Thursday. We'll sift through it on Friday morning of where they are because that leads into their scrimmage. That's their role. They practice twice a week, do a lot of film work and in the classroom, and then they hit the scrimmage field on Saturday, for those real intense, important scrimmages. That'll be the case all the way to the spring game 2 weeks from Saturday. So, yes, and you're right. Someone's got to emerge. But even Steve Sarkisian said the last time we heard from him, he's in his career as a play caller and a head coach, he's always had a 1,000-yard running back. And he's looking at it this year saying, well, is someone going to emerge and be that bell cow,
right?
Be that, lead running back? And
not as a group, but an individual that can do that.
And so that's always just been the way. But, could this be an outlier year even for Sark where it's, 2-3 guys who accumulate 1,500 yards rushing and become your running game? That's going to be the question. Jonathan Brooks is probably the lead candidate. I know my partner on the Eyes on Texas podcast that we do, Mike Craven with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, he believes by the Oklahoma game it's going to be C.J. Baxter who emerges as the lead running back at Texas, and he'll be the guy that pushes for 1,000 yards as a true freshman. His argument is that he's just got the frame for it. I mean, he's a big 6'1", 6'1.5" guy who already looks, even though he should be a senior in high school right now,
already looks the part.
Looks ready to handle that because, if Jonathan Brooks isn't, then Jaden Blue is not big enough to become that guy. He's more of a perimeter runner, much like Keelan Robinson is going to be. And then there's Savion Red, the converted receiver. But C.J. Baxter is the one that looks the part of a 1,000-yard type durable running back against.
I mean that's the position. If you're a natural, you just go play.
Yeah, you've done it. You've had them.
Yeah, you just get the. You don't have to know the exact way guys are going to block. You just need to know what the play's supposed to be designed to do. Then your natural ability just takes on from there. I don't know if that's one that's.
Outside of Ricky Williams, was there another freshman that you had that came in and
Troy Stratford, when I coached at Boston College,
just came in and took off?
Yeah, and he was 5'8", but he had that natural strength.
Yeah, and then Ricky
Priest, all those guys were just they just understood what it was all about. Sean Mitchell was just a speed guy. I mean, Adrian Walker. I mean, they're big, but they were big physical kind of guys too. Some of those guys were big. They were 205. They weren't the 180-pound kid that comes out of high school.
Well, and that's where C.J. Baxter, right? He's straight out of high school, but he's big and
200-some pounds,
and learning the way. So maybe not early, but remember Bijan Robinson. People criticized Tom Herman for not using him enough in his freshman year coming out.
And he was
Arizona.
over 200 pounds.
Yeah, and I will say this for Sark, he's shown. If you're good enough, you're old enough. If playing left tackle, playing wide receiver, playing wherever, and that even on a deeper and more talented team in year 3, you could still see freshmen having an impact. If it's C.J. Baxter at running back, could be a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker, Leona Lafau at linebacker. Those guys are going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, those special positions. I mean, there's some nuances to linebacker and cornerback and stuff like that. If you're a running back or a wide receiver and you're young and you get a scholarship to Texas, you need to be playing. I mean, if you're that good, should be a player.
Yeah.
Come
play. And we know from when you were coaching, players come in with a lot more reps. They're playing in these camps all summer long. And 7-on-7s. And they're more ready, it feels like, than even then at that position. All right, so there's some Texas football chatter halfway through the spring workout. 7 in, 7 to go, and then the spring game on the 15th. We'll come back, pick up some B&E facts of the day, talking Rodney Terry's introduction as the new leader of Texas men's basketball, and 15 in a row for the Longhorns. Here's Craig Way. Wednesday on the Horn, B&E with you. It's a lot of Texas chatter. We'll hear more from Rodney Terry coming up. His introduction as the new head coach of the Texas men's basketball program. Also, David Pierce talking about the big win last night down at College Station. Somebody said, guys, I was there yesterday. Aggies talking trash all afternoon. They were silent when we were leaving the yard. There you go. Longhorns, that's how you shut somebody up. You get a victory. 5-2 final. We'll recap it coming up, talking all things Texas football as well and the NFL. Hey, how about the B&E facts of the day? Break up the Mean Green of North Texas out of Denton, Texas. They won last night, scored the game's final 10 points, and beat Wisconsin out of the Big Ten 56-54. 10-0 run. How about Wisconsin? They scored 13 points in the second half. They were up double digits at the half. They scored 13 second-half points in a basketball game out in Las Vegas.
That doesn't get it done. 13?
27-13. And, yeah, I mean, North Texas was down. They were down 8 points and scored the game's final 10 and win it. They're going to play in the championship game tomorrow night, and it's going to be two Conference USA teams because UAB, the Blazers, won last night. So the Mean Green and the Blazers are going to play for the fourth time.
So they know each other well, I would say.
Yeah, they played their two conference tilts, and they also played in the Conference USA tournament.
4 times.
You know, because they played in the Conference USA tournament. Now, the Mean Green won the first two. They lost the game in the conference tournament. So they're 2-1 against the UAB Blazers. But the Mean Green looking to be the NIT champions, which would be pretty impressive. We know as soon as their season ends with the win or a loss on Thursday night that their head coach, Grant McCasland, is headed to Texas Tech to be the new head basketball coach of the Red Raiders. He's doing a great job there. But 13 points, Wisconsin.
Come on, man.
What do you think they're talking about in Badgerland today? Like, really? Our team out of the Big Ten, the mighty Big Ten, couldn't beat the Mean Green and couldn't score more than 13 points in 20 minutes? That's bad.
That's not good offense.
That ain't good.
It ain't good for sure. You know, when you're asking me about running backs, I'll say this. The first thing in recruiting for me or looking, because I grew up in the time of, obviously, you know, Metcalf and Barry Sanders, Joe Washington, Gale Sayers. Those are the guys that I looked at because the ability to make you miss was very, very important. You know, longevity, once you get out of high school and you get to college, you know, there were a few bangers like Earl and some other guys, Sam Bam Cunningham, but man, the ability to make you miss was always, because everything is not perfectly blocked, you know. When you go up in there, there'll be a guy standing in the hole, like the way Bijan runs. Those are kind of things, those are kind of qualities I looked for first. You had to be able to make guys miss.
Well, the ability to force missed tackles is a great stat, and Bijan was the best at it last year. But is that coachable or is that just innate?
That's generally innate right there.
Yeah.
The contact part, I mean, you can help with that. There's a certain toughness. I mean, Ricky knew how to take a hit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or to dish out that punishment because he had those kind of legs and upper body. I mean, he never shied away from contact, but
he was
believe me, he didn't want to have all that contact. He liked making guys miss.
Well, I think, you're talking about generational players. We're talking about Barry Sanders and Earl and then Ricky Williams.
Joe Washington was
Bijan.
Joe Washington was awesome.
And let's be fair, the Longhorns may not have that right now on the campus. I mean, we're gonna, if there is one, it's maybe C.J. Baxter. But Bijan, that's a once in every 10-year player, maybe longer. So that's where we're talking about Sark maybe with more of a running back by committee this
year. I hope the
year.
kid comes off the hernia well because I like the way he
Jonathan
looked.
Brooks,
yeah. I just didn't realize he had that kind of speed. But he's a pull-away guy. He pulls away from guys.
We also have two bids of $6 billion to buy the Washington Commanders.
It's out there.
$6 billion. Now, what does it mean? What does it all mean? We'll tell you coming up because there are some that think that the $6 billion bidder may just be buying it to sell it to somebody else. Oh, yeah, we'll get you details on that coming up. The sale of the Washington Commanders. Also, the Indianapolis Colts owner, Jim Irsay, has weighed in on the Lamar Jackson conversation with the Colts be an interested party. We'll let you know what the owner had to say on that, plus more on the Longhorns on this Wednesday. It's B&E with you on 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, always streaming, live, local, and digital on your Horn app, on your smart speaker, and at hornfm.com. Started up. That's your Wednesday on B&E, 29 March. And a lot of conversations being had. We were talking about the B&E facts of the day on the way to the top of the hour that North Texas is going to play for the NIT championship, beating Wisconsin last night. I mentioned when the game ended on a 10-0 run. Did you know that the Wisconsin Badgers' final point in that game, Buck, came at the 9:07 mark of the ball game?
That's a long time.
That's bad.
I could score by then.
I don't know. Ty?
I'm a hooper.
There you go. He's a hooper.
I'm a hooper. So they had 54 points with 9+ to go, 9:07 to go, and they didn't make another basket. Point.
Come on, guys.
That's horrible.
I do at one point want to play Zay one-on-one.
I got Zay. I got the booty. He will back you down.
He will back you down.
Is it make it, take it?
Oh, yeah, it'll be make it, take it, but he will back you down with that.
Yeah, one-on-ones always make it,
ergonomic rear end of his.
Give me the ball first.
All you got to do is
not getting it.
Yeah, well, 9 straight minutes. And, North Texas ended the game on a 10-0 run. They'll play for the NIT. The Nitty Championship tomorrow night. Also, I mentioned that according to Shifty Adam Schefter over at ESPN, there are 2 bids, historic bids to buy the Washington Commanders football team of $6 billion each, $6 billion. One of them is led by a group, Josh Harris and Mitchell Rails. That group includes Magic Johnson, big Magic Johnson. What's he doing? He's trying to buy the Washington Commanders. The other one comes from a Canadian billionaire whose name is not easy to say. Steve, by the way, is a Canadian all right to buy the Washington Commanders? Steve Apostolopoulos has made a fully funded $6 billion bid. Now, there are those in the know who suggest that Apostolopoulos, say that 10 times fast, is just trying to buy the team to sell it to Jeff Bezos for like $8 billion.
Oh, you're going to try to sell his buddy the deal.
Yeah, because Daniel Snyder won't sell to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos would be the highest bidder because he's, if not the richest, one of the richest people on the planet, and he wants to buy the team. But Daniel Snyder hates his guts and doesn't want to sell it to him. So if you're Steve Apostolopoulos, would you just buy it and make $2 billion on a profit by selling it right to Jeff Bezos?
I didn't know you could do all that quick.
Oh, I didn't. Well, rich people can do that, I guess.
Wouldn't Daniel Snyder know that that's
Of course he would. I mean, he would know in about 2 seconds.
But he's being forced to sell the team. So, that may not happen.
Well, you have to take the highest bid, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do.
Legally.
I guess. I mean, and obviously the league's owners are kind of overseeing this because they're the Billionaire Boys Club. But yes, that's playing out, and there are those within because again the owners' meetings are happening right now in Phoenix, so they're all there, and so a lot of news coming out of there that they think this thing could be done by the draft, which is 1 month away. The draft is in a month from the first round will be 1 month from tomorrow. Where are they doing it? Kansas City this year?
Yeah.
They're going to Kansas City for the draft? That's boring. I was in Vegas last year. It was a blast. Why would you take it to Kansas City?
It should be in Vegas every year.
Should be in Vegas every year.
Freezing.
I don't know if it'll be freezing in late March there, but what are you going to do? In Vegas, you go to the draft, and then you go gamble.
There you go.
Or you go to a show.
Put down those future bets.
You go to the, you know what club, Buck?
That's right, the Boom Boom.
Yeah. Kansas City.
Get those futures bets. Right off the bat, as soon as you get to the draft. Here we go.
Yeah, and being there last year, I came out of there saying that because all 30. I mean, you'd see it about because if it's in Kansas City, it's gonna be all Chiefs fans for the most part, right? It's gonna be heavy Chiefs.
Sure.
In Vegas, it's everybody. Like every team's represented. Everybody's got their jerseys on.
Strippers, hookers.
Yeah,
they got their favorite team.
You got to pay for college.
Somebody's got to pay
for fans. If you're gonna I understand the Super Bowl bouncing around. That kind of makes sense. But the draft, just put it in Vegas. We'll all meet in Vegas. We'll have our player draft. We'll all have a good old time. It was right at the end of right off the strip, down at the Promenade. Perfect. And but that's a month from tomorrow. But there are some that believe that this Washington Commander sale could happen before then. Now that's interesting because we're talking about this Lamar Jackson story. And I mentioned that Jim Irsay is the owner of the Indianapolis Colts. He weighed in from the owners' meetings and says it's not about the money, it's about the compensation. It's the draft picks and the money together, which makes it prohibitive to acquire Lamar Jackson right now. There's too many draft picks. And I said this yesterday. I wonder if the Colts have the 4th pick. Would there be a way for them to use that draft pick not on a quarterback, but then after the draft, work a trade for Lamar Jackson, and then you're giving up next year's first-round pick, not the 4th overall, right? You're giving up next year's one, which if you acquire Lamar Jackson and you have a really good draft here, the Colts can be right back to being pretty dang good, and you got Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, so that draft pick is not as valuable next year. That's something I would watch. Also,
damn, that team was frightening last year.
Who?
The Colts.
Well, I mean,
that was such a mess.
Well, almost self-inflicted, it felt like. But when you fire – look, Frank Reich was still well-regarded as a coach. He's already landed in Carolina. There are a lot of people in Indianapolis thought Jim Irsay got too involved and hired Jeff Saturday because he wanted the team to be bad so they could have a high draft pick so they could draft a quarterback. And here they are with the 4th pick. Because remember, they fired Frank Reich, and they were like 2-3. Or I mean, they weren't terrible at the time. And then they hired a coach who'd never been a coach, who was the owner's buddy, to come in. And then they also fired the offensive coordinator, and they made Sam Ehlinger, the 3rd-string quarterback, a quarterback with no offensive coordinator. It was just a weird – I mean, and Jim Irsay was way too involved there. But was it to try to sabotage the season to get a high draft pick?
I'm not going to say he's that smart.
Well, there has to be a method to it because now here they are. But the Colts would be a team that – you got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield healthy with Lamar Jackson and some decent weapons. If you don't have to draft quarterback at 4, you can draft Jalen Green or a Will Anderson, one of those kind of players, and then acquire Lamar Jackson after the end of April because you can still make that trade afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wonder with the Washington Commanders, with the new owners, who if things are done by the draft,
sure,
would they get involved then? I mean, Daniel Snyder's not going to do it on his way out the door. But would the new owners come in and say, look, we're going to make a splash here. We're going to acquire Lamar Jackson to be our quarterback? That would be a nice way to ingratiate yourself to the fan base because, of course, Washington, D.C., not far from Baltimore. That's where the Ravens are. That would be quite the coup to land him from right up the road there. But following that story, those two are out there. Jim Irsay says it's –
And in my mind, I still think he's going to end up being a Raven.
He doesn't want to be a Raven. That becomes the interesting part because and, his trade request bombshell tweet makes it clear he doesn't want to be there. I don't know. It's really tough to predict how that's going to pan out. It really does. Because he's only 26. He's whatever you think of he's really a good player. Does he want to
really sit out a year?
Yeah, I know. I don't think he does. All right, let's get to your headlines, your other trending topics of a busy Wednesday morning on B&E. UBO Business Services brings you the news. Yeah, how about Texas Longhorn baseball? Streaking, longest win streak in the nation in college baseball. Extended last night against their arch rivals down at Texas A&M. Longhorns get the victory 5-2. Longhorns jumped out to an early lead with a 2 spot in the first thanks to the red-hot Porter Brown 2 RBI double. He was named the Big 12's Player of the Week yesterday after his weekend performance. He followed it up with that 2 RBIs. They added another run in the third, 2 more in the eighth, and then 5 Texas pitchers held the Aggies to just 6 hits, allowed single runs in the first and the sixth to get the win. Now, LeBaron Johnson Jr. started the game, earned the win. Head coach David Pierce went to a pair of his weekend workhorses to preserve the W as Lucas Gordon, Friday's starter, came in and worked a scoreless 7th inning. Zane Morehouse recorded the final 6 outs, but didn't come without drama. In the 9th inning, Morehouse put the first 2 hitters aboard with a walk and then a hit batter. He pitched through it, though. He coaxed a fielder's choice, then struck out to get the second out. And now it's 2 aboard with 2 at second and third and 2 outs in the inning. Here's Craig Way.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Morehouse, the stretch. And the 0-2 pitch to Cason Wells. Strike 3 called, got him looking, and the ball game is over. Nightmare comes through with another save, a 6-out save, and the Longhorns have beaten the Aggies for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah, 2018, their last time they beat the Aggies in a regional. Of course, it's their first win in College Station over Texas A&M since 2011 for a happy head coach, David Pierce.
We just need to keep doing it. Every single day, come out with such a positive attitude and just see how we can get better and get ready for Oklahoma State.
Yep, 17th ranked Oklahoma State. The challenge this weekend, 3 games in Stillwater beginning Friday. Earlier in the day on the 40 acres, Rodney Terry and his era of Texas men's basketball officially began. He was introduced as the permanent head coach of the program. Packed house to greet the new coach. 55-year-old Angleton native, played collegiately at St. Edwards, previously the head coach at Fresno State and UTEP before coming back to Austin as the associate head coach under Chris Beard last season. He was also an assistant under Rick Barnes from 2002 through 2011. Also from College Hoops, we mentioned in Vegas last night, North Texas topped Wisconsin, 56-54. They're going to the NIT championship game. That's where they're going to face a familiar foe, Conference USA rival UAB. Beat Utah Valley last night. They'll play tomorrow night. One other college hoops note, the reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Keontae George, has announced that he is headed to the NBA after just one season in Waco. Also from the NBA, the Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2022 announced yesterday, and what a class it is. Dwayne Wade, the all-time Dallas Maverick Dirk Nowitzki, Pau Gasol, and Spurs legend Tony Parker have all been elected, along with Spurs head coach Greg Popovich and WNBA legend Becky Hammon. What a Hall of Fame class that is, Buck.
It certainly is.
I'm sure Maverick fans are excited to see Dirk Nowitzki going into the Hall alongside Dwayne Wade, who, of course, we know they hooked up in that controversial NBA Finals where Dwayne Wade got all the calls. T.Y., you're a Mavericks fan. What do you think about that? Dirk Nowitzki going in alongside D. Wade. Of course, Maverick fans will probably make the pilgrimage to be there because he's the greatest Maverick of all time. Also, he'll go in alongside Greg Popovich and Tony Parker. How many rival games did they have?
No kidding.
With the Spurs and the Mavericks over time, and Pau Gasol goes in as well. That's a pretty good class. And Becky Hammon.
Becky Hammon, that's great stuff.
That's pretty good. Pretty good right there. So that was announced yesterday. And Rodney Terry, we'll get into this coming up in our Coach's Corner, but a lot of energy in that building yesterday. There's a lot of, to see DeLost Dodds and to see everybody come out to be a part of that. Every player on the team was there, and we'll let you hear it coming up. It gave him a standing ovation as he walked in. He's clearly made an impact on his ability to direct that program. What was once seen as if you go back to January and ask people, could Rodney Terry get the job? It was probably a long shot to say the least, and here he is, as the new head coach of the Longhorns.
Well, it was probably a long shot to wonder if this team could ever keep it together when that time came. That was a tough situation. That's tough for the players. That's tough for not only Rodney Terry, but that was tough for all the other coaches. I mean, you don't know what your future's like. You don't know how kids are going to react to something that happens like that. I mean, what they think of their lives. I mean, they look at it in all different ways when something like that happens. They had nothing to do with anything, but you start to look at it and what could I have done something? Could I have helped the situation? Now, what is my situation?
Well, and that's, again, I'll give credit to Chris Beard on the same note, because I'm a believer that, A's hire A's and B's hire C's, right? And so Chris Beard, the people he surrounded himself with in his program, told you he was hiring A's, right? He was looking for people, whether it's his coaching staff or then players in the recruiting realm who are the best, right? Who can handle tough situations and adversity and be, quality people on the campus and in the team. And that's to the whole staff, but Chris Beard getting here and coaxing Rodney Terry here, who was of his regard, Chris Ogden, Bob Donewald, all these coaches. You built an A-level coaching staff along with building a really high-level roster in a short amount of time, which was, the people were the reason it was able to weather a situation that was outside of their control when it hit them, and that's impressive for everybody and all concerned in that spot. Let's dive into that Coach's Corner. It's brought to you by Audio Visual Consultations, avconsultations.com online.
Sorry, it was the wrong one.
Come on, T.Y., wake it up in there. But, all right, so can we hear from Rodney Terry yesterday? Let's hear this, T.Y., from the Twitter stream. This was when he walked in the room, because everybody had already gathered and they were just waiting on the president and Rodney to walk in. Here's what it sounded like when he walked in the room.
Like I always say to my guys every day, it's a great day to be alive, man. It's a great day to be a Longhorn.
Now, there was the standing ovation he received as he walked in.
Well, we got some of it. There
he was. Also, as we talked at the end of the show yesterday with the great TJ Ford, TJ was with us on his way to that press conference where he sat and of course, Rodney shouted him out for being there. And here was what Coach, because Rodney, TJ was talking about, Rodney got here when TJ was already at Texas. TJ had played 1 year, and then Rodney was hired in 2002, and they formed a bond, and to this day, right? They keep, whether he's at Fresno State or UTEP, or he and TJ would keep up, and that's not just isolated to him. Here's Rodney talking about a lifetime relationship he builds with his players, and that's the way it's going to be moving forward.
You know, it's about lifelong relationships, and that's what you sign up for when you sign up with the University of Texas and with Coach Terry. These guys here, man, I love these guys more than they know. You know, they taught, you know, just like CDC said earlier, they taught us so many valuable lessons this year in terms of facing adversity head on and not letting it derail what they wanted to accomplish this year. And through the leadership of our older players, helping our younger players, they did a fantastic job. You know.
Yeah, that is well said, because Rodney Terry also said yesterday that when he was asked about recruiting, right, and keeping the recruiting class together through all of this with Ron Holland and A.J. Johnson, that, and it's something you know, Buck, that and Rodney said, you know, yeah, relationships are important, but your own players are your best recruiters.
Oh yeah,
your own team.
That's when you win recruits, is what your players think of you and what they think of the school and the facilities and everything around them. They're the best salesmen out there.
Yeah, and you know, there are many examples on this current roster that we just watched run to the Elite Eight. You know, when Sir Jabari Rice was being recruited by Texas out of New Mexico State, he called his friend Timmy Allen and said, "Hey, they're recruiting me. What do you think? Thumbs up. What do you think about Texas?" Actually, no. Jabari was talking to Timmy Allen's brother, Teddy Allen, who was his teammate, and said, "Well, why don't you just call my brother?" Because they were talking it through, and he was going to maybe play another year at Texas, and said, "Well, just call my brother." And so he talked to Timmy, and Timmy gave it a big thumbs up, and that was a big part of him coming. Also, Marcus Carr was a big part of Tyrese Hunter making the move from Iowa State to Texas, and that tells you just how quickly the program has become one that the players like playing in. And I think Rodney Terry's hoping to keep that moving, because they're going to have to hit the portal again, on top of the recruiting class and on top of keeping guys, here. But it does feel like a program that young guys and
this group
want to play in.
Made it fun for basketball. People started to like basketball. You know what I'm saying? They like basketball here. That the Moody Center is a place that, you lose one game at home. One game for the whole basketball season is just amazing. And the crowds and the atmosphere and the enthusiasm of that place, if you came here, just think if you came here for a visit and you were there in one of those basketball games and you saw this basketball team play there and the, just the feeling inside of that place.
I went to several. It was a whole new world for going to basketball games. And, going to the arena, when you're a part of something there's a lot of energy, it's a lot of fun. I mean, that was going to the Moody Center. I mean, the games were fun, but I saw them play Gonzaga and Creighton there. I saw them play Kansas at the end of the year. I mean, you're
already playing in the best conference in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big time event arena, and now it's a home court advantage without a doubt. And we've gotten a couple of these in that says, "No one else fear we're going to be the next Texas Tech," and of course that refers to Mark Adams taking over for Chris Beard. And
yeah, you do.
Look, I mean, Rodney Terry's got to go do it, but Rodney Terry's been a head coach. He was a successful head coach at Fresno State.
Why wouldn't you think of anything but on the positive side after what you saw this year?
But it's a fair question. I think he's going to do a good job, but at the same time, do the homework. When he was at Fresno State and UTEP, those were both complete rebuilds when he got there, and he built Fresno State into a 25-win team. And a tournament team. They had 4 20-win seasons at Fresno State. He went to UTEP and turned that thing around. And then, remember, then the COVID year hit. He left UTEP as the head coach to come here, where he could have stayed out at El Paso and keep coaching that team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the guy wins 29 games next year or the year. I don't know how that works out. I mean, you just have to wait and see. And a lot of things can happen during the course of recruiting, injuries, whatever. I just know that it's a very together place right now.
Well, and if you want to compare, I don't know why you would compare it. I guess the comparison to Texas Tech is that they promoted a top assistant when Chris Beard left. But what was the biggest problem with Mark Adams there? Was relationships, right? He didn't get along with anybody, and that soured really quickly. He knows basketball. He knows X's and O's. He was Chris Beard's defensive coordinator essentially, and that was a bad hire for Kirby Hocutt. I mean I
know this. One plus thing is the fact that this coach, the players respect him in a lot of different ways. Respect him not just a basketball coach, but as kind of a father figure and what he's telling them about life. You know, he said he had to. I mean, when he first went to Fresno, he had to be a little harder than he is now. I mean, he wasn't as jolly. You come in here and start building your culture. That's not easy to do. sometimes you got to stomp your foot down. People don't like that. Kids think, oh man, this guy's too much of a hard ass. But he says he's learned his ways too. He said what you're getting is the real Rodney Terry now.
Yeah, he was maybe too high strung.
Sure.
And too, not being himself and genuine enough in previous stops because it was such a grind. And yeah, being able to sit back and watch Chris Beard last year as an assistant, said if I get another opportunity, I will be myself. And look, whatever we think of Mark Adams, his biggest problem was his own personality. He rubbed everybody the wrong way. There were reports out of Lubbock that his own coaching staff was again, they were acrimony there. The players, it was not a good situation. I mean, Rodney Terry's number one trait is his personality and his ability to connect with people. That's been wherever he is. And if you see a guy get a standing ovation from his team as he walks in the door, he's already got the connection with this team. And that's what it's all about. And then bringing in new players. Let's hear Rodney. I sent you another piece of audio, Ty. This is when, talking about recruiting to Texas and what that means, right? We had been recruited to UTEP, have been recruited to places like Fresno State. So this is a bit of a different animal when you're recruiting to Texas.
This brand right here is incredible. I mean, it's powerful. It made me leave a head coaching job, because of the experience and because of just the elite. It's the elite of the elite to be at the University of Texas. We have elite coaches on this campus. We have elite student athletes on this campus. Obviously we'll start with our recruiting. We always like to start in the state. We want the best players in the state of Texas to come and play for the University of Texas. We feel like we have the best of all worlds. We have incredible academic, education that you're going to get while you're here. You're going to get an elite level basketball experience. You're going to live in one of the best cities in the country and continue to grow. And you're going to have an incredible alumni base that you're going to continue to have an opportunity to network with and get to know as well. But we can go anywhere. We start within the state. We can go nationwide. We can go international because of this brand. It's a very powerful brand.
It's great about him because it's not all about him. It's about the university. He's talking about this university and what it can do for you,
Absolutely. And that's there was a lot of that yesterday of it's not about me, it's about the program. It's
right.
not about me, about the players. It's not about me, it's about the staff. And that's, I think there was a genuine article to that. And can we play this cut too? This was from the week at the McDonald's All-American game, which was played last night. Ron Holland is the number one player in the state of Texas this year, best player in the state, recruited by Rodney Terry, by the way, when he was Chris Beard's top assistant. His two main recruiting targets were A.J. Johnson and Ron Holland. Landed both of them, and they're both coming to Texas. Ron Holland plays at Duncanville. He was asked up at the McDonald's All-American game about Rodney Terry and why, through all of it, he's stuck with his commitment to play for Texas.
I feel like Coach RT does, he's really well trusted with his guys. He not only does he coach them, he makes sure that they're good on and off the court, meaning he gets in your personal life to make sure that you're just good, mentally. He tries to teach a lot of life lessons and that you can carry with you in becoming the young man that I'm going to be. Just knowing that he really cares about his players and he's not going to give up, I feel like that makes him the players coach.
All right, so there's Ron Holland at Duncanville. He'll be a part of next year's roster. And it's also, as we heard from Jerry Hamilton yesterday, that Trey Johnson, who's the number one player in the state for next year's class, he's a shooting guard from Lake Highlands. He also has he might go straight to the NBA. He might be one of those guys that's a G leaguer. But if he plays in college, Jerry believes that Texas would be his pick at this point, and that's another guy being recruited by Rodney Terry. So, it feels
that guy sounds like the kind of man I'd want my son to be playing for.
Me too. Agreed.
Son or daughter. That's important. That would be important to me.
No, I think
he's going to build my son or my daughter into the right kind of person that I'd like to see them be when they leave a place, whether they go to the NBA or not, and can they be successful. And as I said, you don't know what the future holds. You don't know. I hope this is a program that's not satisfied with just where they just got to in the Elite Eight. Well, that's the scary part of all that. Where do you go from here? The Elite Eight, you go to the Final Four, do you win a national championship? That's what people have on their mind. Are you going to take a step back? Well, then that's up to Rodney and his staff and the players. They still have to do their part in it. It doesn't just stop in 1 year. You get to the Elite Eight. Are you okay? We'll get to the Elite Eight next year. Are we happy with our basketball program, or what kind of program do you want to build?
Well, he said he was echoing what Chris Beard had said before. We want to be a Monday night program and cut down the nets for a national championship. That's the goal. That doesn't change a bit. I would agree with you on, he's the type of guy you would want to root for and have your son play for, having known him a long time. Rodney Terry has climbed this ladder and now has this opportunity. And as he said, God puts you where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Put your feet where they need to be. And as he was kind of opining yesterday, the fact that he bought a house in South Austin during COVID while he was still the coach at UTEP. Right, he just bought a house as an investment. That's where he wanted to be when he was done. And
he
then
buys into the university in Austin, Texas.
Right. Well, I mean, the fact that he bought that and Texas wasn't even on his mind. He was talking about Austin.
Mm-hmm.
He bought that house during COVID while he's still the coach at UTEP. And then Chris Beard calls him and says, "Hey, come be my top assistant." And he's like, "Okay." And there's an argument that if he hadn't bought that house, maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe he stays at UTEP. But he's like, "Okay, I'll do that." And then, of course, this happens, and now the opportunity is sitting in front of him. And it's one that, look, there are no guarantees in a coaching hire.
No.
Who knows what the future holds? Who would have guessed how this year went? Same time, he's a guy it's easy to root for, and he's got a lot of energy, and he's already well liked within the program. And players win games, and I think he's going to be able to bring in players and coach them up. So that's the Longhorn situation. Texas baseball with the big win. Texas basketball with a new head coach. We'll pick that up on the other side and take your thoughts throughout the morning on a busy Wednesday. TY will lead us through some hot or not topics coming up. We roll forward. B&E with you.
Say, Coach couldn't get out of El Paso quick enough and bought a house here in Austin, huh? I'm not knocking El Paso now. It's a nice place for a week. Been there, done that a couple times.
He said he bought
Sun Bowl.
Yeah, well, because, of course, my man Rodney Terry is a St. Ed's grad, and so he bought a house not far from St. Ed's. Right,
I don't make him dumb.
Between St. Ed's and
Getting
downtown.
out of there.
Yeah, well, he didn't buy it to move. He bought it for an investment during the COVIDs, and then the opportunity presented itself to come to Texas, and he took it. But, still living there right there between downtown and St. Edwards there, South Austin. And he's now the head coach of the Longhorns. We had somebody said, I lived in El Paso. I would have bought a house in Austin, too. See, that's not nice. We're going to knock the EP.
Come on now.
It's not necessary. Hey, if you want more on the Rodney Terry conversation, a ton of content at hornfm.com and on our socials. Right after the press conference yesterday, which you heard live here on the Horn, Rodney did a sit-down with Craig Way, which is available. Also, as you said, Rodney Terry's first head coaching boss was Sylvester Collier at Bowie, CC, Isaiah Collier's dad. So they had him on yesterday afternoon talking about having Rodney as a youngster out of St. Ed's. And also TJ Ford was with us yesterday. You can go back and hear that, talking about the new Longhorn basketball coach. Texas baseball with a nice win last night. They're putting them together now, 15 in a row. This team doesn't even resemble the team that came back from Cal State Fullerton at 4-7, and looking for answers. I will say that when the Horns came back from California, we had Ty Harrington on the show, and he was out there in California and called those games with Keith Moreland and said, look, they lost those games, but as a manager, what I saw was competitive fight. Like they fought. I mean, a couple of swings here and there, a couple of plays here and there, they could have swept that series. Instead, they lost 2 out of 3. And I know that sounds like coach speak.
No, it's winning is hard.
Yeah, well, coach said, and he said, but look, there's a lot. I saw a lot that I like about this team coming back, and he was prophetic because since that point, they haven't lost a game. They've identified some roles. They've gotten the lineup where they need it. A lot of things are coming together, and the one thing David Pierce said yesterday after the game about what he loves about his team right now is that their competitive fight, that they're fighting for it, right? They had the 2 walk-off wins over Texas Tech. They've found a closer in Zane Morehouse now. They've got a lineup that they can put out there every day that's going to produce in different ways.
Yeah, by the way, winning is fun, too. It's hard, but it's fun.
Yeah, and the margin between it, the winning and losing in that game, or really in any sport, is not a lot. And, you make a play here or there or you don't.
How many 15-game winning streaks do you have on your college campus?
Not
in
many.
The course of years, not just, I mean,
that's 3 weeks of winning. And when you're playing 3, 4 games or 4 or 5 games a week, you start to stack them up. And that's what the Longhorns are doing. And, winning is contagious. It is. But also yesterday when we talked to Ty Harrington, he, confidence it breeds confidence, right? I mean, Zane Morehouse last night, let me say this for him. That's a game on the road with 8,000 hostiles. You're up 5-2, so you have a 3-run lead, but the first 2 batters reach on a walk and a hit batter. Then your second baseman boots a ground ball that you coax. You coax a ground ball. He boots the double play. Now, he got the out at first, but it's a fielder's choice, but you only got 1 when you could have had 2, and now it's second and third, just 1 out and a base open.
Yep.
And there, you can buckle in that spot, right? You give up a knock, you give up a ball in the gap, it's all of a sudden, 5-4. And this is what you really like about him being at the back end. You have to be able to calm yourself, to bring your heart rate down and pitch in those moments, because it's one thing to do it at home, but it's another thing to do it on the road in front of a hostile crowd and things aren't going your way. And he punched out the next 2 with 2 strikeouts to end that ball game. That gives you a lot of confidence if you're David Pierce. And also, let's remember that Woody Williams is a first-year pitching coach, and he was learning this pitching staff in real time of who he can rely on, which guys are best for what spots. And that's why a guy like Zane Morehouse is interesting, because he started as a starter, right, on Saturdays, and now because they felt like they needed someone to close games, they made the decision, let's get this guy in the back end because he's bringing that, mid-90s nastiness. We need that in the 8th and 9th inning of ball games, and he has really become that guy, and that gives you confidence in the back end, and now you can work together with your pitching staff. But it feels like it felt like the offensive lineup got there faster than the pitching staff did, and it feels like the pitching staff's now getting there because if you saw it on Sunday, they gave the Sunday start to Charlie Hurley, the big 6'8" right-hander, the USC transfer, and he went out and pitched great. And that you're starting to identify that, okay, we got Lucas Gordon on Friday. It's going to be, a combination of Charlie Hurley, LBJ, and Travis Staley on your weekend starts. And then, we've got Morehouse and Chris Stewart and guys who can close games. The other guy to mention, and we'll talk to Coach Pierce tomorrow, our weekly Thursday visit with Coach Pierce, 8:30 tomorrow. The guy in the batting order, Porter Brown was just named the conference's player of the week for what he did last week against Texas Tech. And this guy, Peyton Powell, he's as good a hitter as you're going to find, Buck. And when you can bat .416, have an OPS of 1,200, have over 53, 54 total bases now, but you've only struck out 6 times all season. That means you're taking great at bats, you're working pitching stabs, you're putting the ball in play for your team. Peyton Powell has really emerged as a guy that it's not Ivan Melendez, nobody is, but at the same time he kind of gives you that kind of at bat and that kind of presence in the middle of that order. And I'll say this: if they get Dylan Campbell swinging it, if he gets hot here as the temperature rises, they're going to have a really potent offensive lineup because Eric Kennedy's doing what you need to do at the top of the order.
A lot of bats for that guy.
Yeah, you mentioned Peyton Powell, EK, Porter Brown, Garrett Gilmette. The lineup is starting to take shape along with the pitching staff, and right at the right time. That's how you win 15 in a row. And now you go to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State for 3 games and see if you can keep that going. You got a streak going, Bucky. You don't want to lose.
No, man, you don't hate losing.
What did Bull Durham say? Never blank with a winning streak.
No.
Remember when they were coming back on the
Just
win
keep
streak?
going.
And he's like, he's about to. Remember the win streak started when he stopped having relations with Annie? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And Nuke said, I'm shutting it down, and they didn't lose. And then he says to Crash Davis, he says, I'm thinking about giving in. He's like, what?
No.
On the bus back.
Don't blink with a winning streak.
You can't give in.
No.
You can't give in. Well, she's all over me, and can't give in.
Keep it going.
Never blank with a winning streak, Ty. Never do it. Hey, did you sell those Final Four tickets yet?
Yeah, I think they've found a home.
Those Jinx tickets?
Yes.
Come on, man.
All right.
Sadly.
So you guys,
wish I could use them.
So let's play out this play-by-play. These guys, you and your dad, well, the Longhorns are up by 13 at the half against Miami on Sunday. Buy Final Four tickets, which is the ultimate fan jinx. And now you're not even going to go to the game. You sold them.
I mean, why? You it's not like you want to go to these games.
Oh, you couldn't pay me to go to the Florida Atlantic. If you asked me, I'll give you tickets to see Florida Atlantic play San Diego State. I wouldn't go.
You think it's going to be ugly?
Have you seen San Diego State play basketball? Yeah. It'll be like the Wisconsin-North Texas game last night. I'll watch the game, but I'm not going. I certainly wouldn't pay money to buy tickets for it. I'll go down the street in Houston and watch the Astros play opening weekend.
Is it an NRG, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and watching basketball.
That's the right. Right. You're going to put me in a cavernous football stadium to watch San Diego State play Florida Atlantic? No, thank you.
If Texas was playing, you could put me up at the nosebleeds.
Well, sure. Well, then you got a vested interest. I don't really have my bracket's busted. I don't have any of the Final Four teams. I'll be over at Minute Maid Park watching the Astros or watching the Longhorns play Oklahoma State or something.
Got to have that interest in the game.
And it's I know it's March Madness, but like if I told you on CBS Sports Network at 9:00 tonight, Florida Atlantic is playing San Diego State back in March or back in February, would you watch that game? No.
Bucky's been a fan of Florida Atlantic all year.
I kind of like Florida Atlantic.
He's been on them.
I like them.
For gambling purposes only?
Gambling purposes, that's right.
Okay.
They've been good. Their conference is pretty good.
San Diego State's my team, too.
Yeah, you like those old dudes.
Well,
those 35-year-old dudes playing bald.
Just throwing up hook shots.
Throwing up half hooks.
Hey, well, that's
backing guys down in the lane like Zay.
Team wins because they're not the most talented team.
No.
San Diego State. There's no doubt about that. You're talking about 7 seniors and 2 juniors. Then they rotate 9 players, and all of them are like 22 or 23 years old.
That is what we'll be missing from this basketball team next year. There was a lot of veterans on this team.
It was. And those guys know how to play together.
Yes.
They know how to play basketball. And, I'm not saying that's not – I think that's a good thing for college basketball. I think that's a good thing for the sport. This sport got really in a bad way when you're talking about, one-and-done players.
Guys leaving.
All freshmen on a team that aren't, team players yet. I think it's good for the sport that San Diego State is here. And on a team like Florida Atlantic, did you see Jerome Tang, Kansas State played in the Big 12, which was the best basketball conference in the country. And after they beat K-State up there at Madison Square Garden on Saturday, Jerome Tang, in a very classy way, went into their locker room, Florida Atlantic, and told those guys congratulations, go get them, and said they were the toughest team mentally that they played all year long, which is high praise coming out of the Big 12.
Yep.
And so, yeah, Florida Atlantic, they're not going to back down. One of those two teams is playing for the national championship on Monday night.
That's exactly right. One of them got to play, don't they?
Yeah. One of those teams will be playing for the Natty. And obviously UConn is the prohibitive favorite now going into it, the way they're not just beating people, but they're crushing people in this tournament. UConn's average margin of victory is 15. How about the way they beat Gonzaga?
Dude, they have big dudes. They have no nonsense.
They went through Gonzaga like they weren't there. And Gonzaga's a pretty good team. Now they're getting Miami. And this is why it's really unfortunate for Texas that Dylan DeSue was hurt for the game last week, because Miami don't have anybody to match up with UConn down low.
No.
I mean, they'll try to force them with that four-guard lineup, but they don't have anybody to match the size of UConn, and UConn could make that could be a real problem.
And
for Jim
UConn's got
Larrañaga.
long enough guys on the exterior too. They don't have
balanced.
They don't have a bunch of 5'8", 9 guys.
Well,
They
Dan
got some
Hurley's
tall
team
guys.
is really good. I mean, they can beat you inside and out. They can beat you on defense and offense.
Shoot the threes.
Yeah, they're good, and they're a really, really good team. And probably not probably.
I mean,
Vegas.
I watched a lot of Big East ball this year. I didn't realize they were that good, Ty, the whole time. I mean, they were kind of off and on. You know, they got beat. I thought
Big East was a great conference this year.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be more kind of a Cinderella. I know they've won national championships there before. I mean, but I was waiting for Villanova to resurrect themselves again, and they didn't. I mean, UConn crushed them.
Villanova's terrible this year.
Just crushed them.
Jay Wright leaving.
Didn't Marquette win the conference?
Yeah.
The Shaka Smart March curse continues. But
He won a game.
He won a game and then lost a game. And still hadn't played out of that first weekend since he was at VCU. We'll come back. When we do, it's Hot or Not time with TY. Also, we'll hear more from Rodney Terry, the new head basketball coach at Texas, and more from the owners' meetings out there in Phoenix, the goings-on with the 32 NFL billionaires. It's B&E on the Horn.
Folks, Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star group of professionals do everything from general dentistry to the most advanced work. And I had my teeth restored in just 2 visits with a great doctor. Also, give him a call today at 512-345-3166. Find out if you're a candidate for dental implants. Turn that frown upside down in just 1 day. Leave with a smile on your face for sure. Now, general dentistry, Dr. Eckert's doing that too. Extractions, teeth cleaning, teeth whitening. They are absolutely the very best. And when it comes to dental anxiety and you're not taking care of your dental health because you're scared, don't be scared any longer. I am not for sure. And I've got an appointment already set to go in May to see the good doctor, and you can too. If you're thinking about becoming a new patient, he is taking on new patients. As I said, call him today at 512-345-3166. With that dental anxiety, if you need IV sedation, Dr. Eckert will get that done to you because he wants to take care of your dental health for sure. Over 1,400 cases of restoring teeth. He's been doing this almost 28 years in this area. He's absolutely the very best. He is our dentist, and he needs to be your dentist also.
Hot Not. This guy says, could you say happy birthday to my son Roberto turning 16
Happy birthday.
today?
Happy
16.
sweet 16.
Go get that driver's license.
Ooh. Permit's done now. It's time to get it, huh?
Yeah, somebody said 36 people picked this Final Four in the ESPN brackets. 36 out of 20 million. Had winning is hard. That's true. You did say winning is hard.
Winning is hard.
It is not easy. And that's why 15
and 15 in a row is really hard.
Exactly right.
And that's in any sport, right?
Anything. Yeah, well, being consistently good at something day after day after day is not takes time, takes effort, takes practice.
Takes some luck.
Certainly does. And I like that from Rodney Terry yesterday. He's talking about his coaching method, and one of his mantras with the team is that there is no pressure if you're prepared. And that's true.
No excuse for lack of
pressure usually means you're
That's
nervous
right.
about something, which means maybe you're not as prepared as you should be. If we prepare our way, we won't be nervous.
Absolutely.
And it felt like Wisconsin was nervous last night against the Mean Green of North Texas. We'll mention again, they scored 13 points in the second half against the Mean Green.
13 points.
Pressure got them. They were prepared for the Mean
Get
Green
some guys
defense.
over at Gregory Gym and get you 13.
Yeah, the Wisconsin Badgers out of the Big Ten, their last point came at 9:07 of the game. They didn't score again, and they lost 56-54 to North Texas, who came and beat them, and they're going to play for the NIT championship. Ty, what do you have for us in Hot or Not, my friend, as we get you rolling here? If you sold those Final Four tickets. By the way, somebody did ask if I've already bought Super Bowl tickets to see the Cowboys next year. Am I jinxing it?
No.
Yeah, you are. No need to do that. They're not going to the Super
Just
Bowl.
a waste of money.
Yeah, that's all that is.
Come on, man.
I'm guaranteeing the Cowboys Super Bowl
Get
this year.
out of here.
Well, hopefully, if they're winning the NFC Championship game at halftime, you don't call and buy tickets.
I would.
See that you're going to do it yourself again.
Cowboys will be behind
You got to beat the rush.
the Commanders.
And
their new owner.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So you're guaranteeing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
In, not win.
Well, that means I won't have to walk to Dallas if they don't win the Super Bowl.
Hell, that'll make them in last place, wouldn't it?
You've got them behind the Commanders.
Yeah, because the Commanders will be behind the Giants.
And Anthalopoulos, or whoever the new owner is going to be. I don't know. But so you're guaranteeing Cowboys in the Super Bowl out of the NFC next year, TY, on March 29th.
Today, yes, I'm right in the book.
What
It's
is
happening.
Well, you won't have to worry about Green Bay because they're going nowhere.
I do like the Cowboys offseason so far.
with Jordan Love.
And I will point out, and I don't want to get Cowboy fans too excited, but I was reading yesterday, theathletic.com, right, is the great website, subscription site, but they have a beat writer for every NFL team. They have a reporter who covers every team. Like John Machota is the Cowboys beat writer, but they have one for every NFL team. So this weekend they put out the beat writers mock draft a month to the draft. So the people who cover the team the most make the pick, and they had the Texans taking Bryce Young at 2, and they had the Cowboys at 26 taking Bijan Robinson. Still there.
Can I
and
change my thought when that happens? If that happens, we get a chance to change, though.
And those are obviously the beat reporter doesn't know who they're going to pick, but they're around the team all the time, so they have a good sense of what the team is thinking. And yeah, two things would have to happen there. Like Bijan would have to be available at 26, and then the Cowboys would actually have to turn the card in.
Well, I sure like their chances a lot better if that were the case. But right now, they're behind the Commanders.
Maybe that's how Jerry Jones.
The Eagles, the Giants, the Commanders, and then the Cowboys.
Maybe that's how Jerry Jones could make his disgruntled daughter and her lawsuit go away. I'll let you turn in the card. Come on, come be part of the draft with us.
That's as close as you're going to get.
We'll get the latest of that. Ty, what'd you have for us in Hot or Not?
Chiefs superfan, Chiefsaholic. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
He was arrested for being a bank robber in Oklahoma recently. And yesterday, news came out that he has skipped bail and he is out on the run. There is a $1 million bond warrant.
What? How much?
$1 million if you get him.
$1 million. Let's
Going
find
on the
this
run.
guy.
Is that dead or alive?
Where's Dog the Bounty Hunter when we need him?
Where's Dog?
That's what that means, right? A bond warrant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then bounty hunters will be after him to collect that case.
Hell yeah.
I'm in on that. So this was Chiefsaholic, like on Twitters and stuff.
Yeah, and he goes all the games dressed as like a wolf.
He's a bank robber.
Yes.
That's
Great. That is great.
That is Chiefsaholic. Now he's going to be jailaholic if they catch him. All right, look for him out there. We'll be back. We pick this up on the other side. It's B&E on the Horn. Put them together for another Longhorn victory last night, 15 straight on the diamond. This time at College Station, something they haven't done in, 13 years, 12 years. Win at College Station on a baseball game. We'll get you details, play some highlights. Hear from David Pierce on the big win. Rodney Terry introduces the new head coach of the Texas men's basketball team. Been a big topic this morning. On the way to the timeout, we're talking about the Cowboys and the Super Bowl. How about that? Cowboys in the Super Bowl. T.Y. guaranteeing a Super Bowl
It's
trip.
hard to talk about that, isn't it?
I will say this. The Cowboys have had a great offseason. They really have. And, you know me. This time last year, I was saying the Cowboys are having a terrible offseason. What are they doing? They were just in the divisional round of the playoffs and 12 wins, won the division. Why are they trading Amari Cooper? Why aren't they doing anything? Why aren't they trying to take advantage of this window? And obviously came to bear when the Eagles had a great offseason and went right past them. And played in the Super Bowl last year. So, but this is the time of year where you build and fill your holes and fix your roster. And I think the Cowboys have had a heck of a month, man. I mean, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, as long as it's been since they opened league business. And the shoring up of not losing key guys on their own defense. And now there's a report they're trying to bring back Jonathan Hankins, the big plugger at defensive tackle. If they do that, I mean, it goes from A to A plus what they've done so far. To get Hankins to plug the middle, Leighton Vander Esch returning at linebacker, and then Donovan Wilson, staying on board at safety on top of the acquisition of Stephon Gilmore. You've addressed a lot of issues on your defense in a big, big way. I went into the offseason thinking they were going to lose some of those key guys, and they were going to be needing to replace them through the draft.
Instead, they built on it, didn't they?
They did. And then on offense, they franchise tagged Tony Pollard. They did the right thing vis-a-vis Zeke Elliott, and they cut him loose. Didn't let the loyalty blind them to the right thing. And, to someone who watches every Texans game, I can tell you Brandon Cooks is a good player. He and Stephon Gilmore are very similar. They play as far as what their role can be. Stephon Gilmore is the perfect guy. Stephon Gilmore is the perfect guy to play opposite Trevon Diggs. Trevon Diggs is the number one corner. But teams would just go away from him in big moments, and they would pick on the other corner. And that minimized the Cowboys' pass rush. Stephon Gilmore is not a number one corner anymore, but he still scares you on the other side. He was the best corner for the Colts last year. And, the same thing for Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is still a good player, and he's only 29 years old. He gives you what you need because, this stat about Dak Prescott, that last year among 40 measurable quarterbacks, Dak Prescott threw into tight coverage the fourth highest percent of the time of all 40 quarterbacks. So tight window throws they measure. So meaning your receivers aren't getting a lot of separation, and you got to thread the needle. Prescott threw into tight windows the fourth highest rate out of 40 qualified quarterbacks. Part of that was teams able to compress the field because they didn't have anybody who could stretch the field.
That's right.
What does Brandon Cooks do? Stretches the field. You can go over the top with Brandon Cooks, something you couldn't do once you traded Amari Cooper, and you weren't getting from Noah Brown or Michael Gallup, and that allowed teams to focus on CeeDee Lamb. Well, that opens it up for CD and Brandon Cooks. If he and Gilmore stay healthy, because that becomes my concern with veteran players like that, is can they stay healthy throughout the course of the season and be healthy at the critical moments of the year? If they do, those two guys are huge pieces of what the Cowboys do.
Yeah, well, Gilmore's the guy who is still a physical guy at his age.
Yeah,
he doesn't shy away from contact. Never did.
Well, he doesn't. Athleticism is one thing, but he's long and his
he understands where he needs to be.
His game IQ is through the roof. He knows how to play leverages. He knows how to read coverages. He knows how to kind of to be ahead of the game.
Guys, he's been with Bill Belichick.
He won a Defensive Player of the Year award from corner for the whole league. That never happens. He's a good player. And I think, again, health with a veteran player like that is the biggest question because if he gets hurt, you're kind of right back to where you were. If he stays healthy, you have the perfect guy opposite Trevon Diggs and perfect guy to help your pass rush get even better this year. And I think the same thing for Brandon Cooks. And that's why now with the moves that they've made, the draft becomes take the best player. Like we don't have to feel like last year they had to reach to take Tyler Smith because they needed an offensive lineman desperately.
Ended up not being a reach though.
No, right, but they reached for him because when you say reach, Tyler Smith may have been there into the second round and beyond. They took him in the first round, but it worked. I'm saying that this year you can take the best player on your board. You don't have to fill a need this year, and if that happens to be Bijan Robinson, then it happens to be Bijan Robinson.
And Zeke might be back.
They're not bringing Zeke back.
I don't know. Reports are saying.
I'm not buying.
The price is right.
What is he back for?
Because
what is he back for?
Because as expected, he's finding no suitors on the open market.
That's what I mean. I mean, are they knocking the door down? But why is he back?
I've said
is
all
he
along,
coaching? Is he going to be on the coaching staff?
You would have to have a new number. Stephon Gilmore took 21.
Yeah, that's right. They've already given Stephon Gilmore his number. That's how much they thought of Zeke. See ya. Let me give 21 to Stephon Gilmore. But if Zeke, I don't know if Zeke will find a job until after the draft. We're to the point now where teams are pretty much done with free agency.
When Zeke will find a job? Late October, November.
I think it'll be
when
soon.
Somebody's banged up.
Well, because look, let's go through the timeline. The windows of free agency, I don't say are over, but mostly over. Teams have filled their needs, and now it's about getting ready for the draft. The draft is in 1 month, so the draft boards, you're going to all these pro days, to your university pro days to finalize it. Then you get together in the final 2 weeks and 3 weeks and finalize your war room and your draft board. And then, if you don't get the running back you want in the draft, and you go through the 7 rounds and you don't get him, then you might double back on a guy like Zeke Elliott and say, okay, we missed on somebody. Somebody grabbed the guy we wanted, so we win a different position. You might double back on Zeke at that point, but that people are now looking for the draft. That's the next place to acquire talent and fill holes, and that's where, think about it for the Cowboys. The Bijan pick makes a lot of sense because you've already franchise tagged Tony Pollard. You didn't sign him long term, but you bring in Bijan and he can be the complement to Tony Pollard in year 1. But then next year in the offseason, you let Tony Pollard walk as a free agent and Bijan becomes your feature back.
Sure,
that's smart drafting, and that's what they did with Tyler Smith. Bringing him in becomes your future replacement for Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith's going to keep playing as long as he can, but when Tyron Smith's ready to retire, Tyler Smith now, with a couple seasons under his belt, becomes his replacement at left tackle. That's smart. Cowboys have done a good job with that. And at least this year, instead of not doing anything through the free agency period or making any trades, they have. And that puts them in a position to take a Bijan Robinson. Or, as I keep saying, maybe a tight end. I keep watching this film of this Darnell Washington at Georgia, and I'm like, why do people mock him in the second round? I don't get any of that with the Georgia tight end who won 2 national championships. If you go watch his tape, Buck, he is a physical blocker. He
can get after you in blocking.
He's 6'7" and 265 pounds, and yet you watch him for Kirby Smart's team blocking his ass off, taking out 2 at a time in that run game, and then you see him at the combine run 4.6, and you're like, hold on, and jump and do short shuttle drills like a receiver.
And he's got good hands, but it's just his separation. He is clunky when it comes to here's a guy up on you. You know what I mean? Well, now, you can throw it high because nobody's going to out-jump him.
We got a lot of things you can't coach.
Oh, no.
6'7",
size,
long arms, physical.
Speed.
4.65 in the 40, short shuttle drills like a receiver. I don't know. I mean, I would love to see the Cowboys take Bijan. I think it'd be a great pick if he's there. But if they hand a card in and go with that guy, because look, think what Mike McCarthy keeps saying. They want to be more physical. They want to be bigger, more tougher. Well, a guy like Darnell Washington makes you tougher and more physical. You replace Dalton Schultz with that dude who's, bigger and stronger and faster. I like that pick potentially for the Cowboys.
You're going to need a guard.
I was going to say that. I'm going to take an offensive lineman before I take a tight end in the first round.
The Cowboys may be in a position to because one of these positions is going to slide to them where they're going to be able to take
the kid from TCU. Is he that good?
Avila?
Yeah.
He's seen top of the second round, top 40, top 45 kind of player. Yeah, that'd be probably a reach at 26, but at the same time, if you need an interior guard.
Yeah, for next 15 years.
You need someone more physical than Connor McGovern was.
Yeah, I think that's
Connor
fair.
Williams was the year before.
I think that's fair. If they take offensive line, you're not going to criticize that.
No.
Because if one of those really good interior guys slides, or even a tackle, that they can play at guard until he needs to move, can be there. Because the Cowboys know who their starting 5 is on offensive line. They don't know who anybody behind them.
I know this. If Bijan is there at that pick, you need to take him. You need to take the best player on the board.
Because he makes your offensive line better as it is.
Jerry Jones came out and said that Terrence Steele is the backup for both tackle spots.
Who's the starter at right tackle?
Tyler Smith is going to be the right tackle.
Ooh. And then he's your swing tackle now?
Unless that was just Jerry,
pulling the roster out of the back of his pocket with some markings on it from the last time he was in the booth.
I do like what the Cowboys have done, and I think they've put themselves in a really strong position coming in the draft to just take good players to further add to the talent on the roster.
They take Bijan. I will put them with the Eagles if that were to happen. I would put them with the Eagles.
Too. Well, the only negative of Bijan is that he likely is not a starter, and you're using your first round pick on a guy that he'll be a complimentary player because you franchise tag Tony Pollard. He's going to be your feature running back.
Until after about game 3 when he's the guy who's breaking off monster
But
runs.
I'm talking about you're looking there. I'm talking about on April 27th or whatever the draft night is. You have to take a player. Are you going to draft a guy for the long haul that might be a complimentary player to you this year?
I'm taking a guy who then, after, as you said, next year when I got to get ready to pay that guy the other month,
I think that's smart.
This guy will be a starter.
No, I think that's a fair point.
Well, if they run the ball as much as Mike McCarthy's been talking about, you really need two full-time backs.
Fair enough. Let's get to your other headlines and trending topics. We talked some Cowboys football in late March. Top Gun Equipment Rentals bring you the news every hour every time in the 8 o'clock hour. Longhorns baseball, 15 in a row now. How about the win on the road at College Station last night? Beat Texas A&M 5-2. Longhorns jumped out early with a 2 spot in the first inning thanks to the reigning Big 12 Player of the Week, Porter Brown, 2 RBI double. Played it a couple. They also added a run in the third, 2 more in the 8th. 5 Texas pitchers held the Aggies to 6 hits, allowed single runs in the first and 6th inning. LeBaron Johnson Jr. earned the win with 3 innings as the starter. Head coach David Pierce actually went to a pair of his weekend workhorses to preserve the W as their Friday starter Lucas Gordon came in and pitched a scoreless 7th inning. Zane Morehouse recorded the final 6 outs, but that didn't come without drama. 9th inning, Morehouse put the first 2 aboard with a hit, walk, and a hit batter. But he pitched himself through it. He coaxed a fielder's choice, then a big strikeout, which brought the potential final out to the plate.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Morehouse, the stretch. And the 0-2 pitch to Cason Wells. Strike 3 called, got him looking, and the ball game is over. Nightmare comes through with another save, a 6-out save, and the Longhorns have beaten the Aggies for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah, 2018, the last time the Horns beat the Aggies. Of course, the Aggies beat the Longhorns in the College World Series a year ago to end the year. It's the first win for the Longhorns in College Station since 2011. Horns are at Oklahoma State for 3 this weekend. Earlier in the day on the 40 acres, a lot of excitement as Rodney Terry was introduced as the new head men's basketball coach of the Longhorns. Formally introduced to the permanent coach of the program, packed house, and he says it's a day he had always dreamed of.
Like I always say to my guys every day, it's a great day to be alive, man. It's a great day to be a Longhorn.
Yeah, 55-year-old Angleton native, played collegiately at St. Edwards, previously the head coach at Fresno State and UTEP. Came back to Austin as the associate head coach for Chris Beard before last season. He also was an assistant under Rick Barnes from 2002 to 2011. College basketball last night. How about Vegas? North Texas topped Wisconsin 56-54 to win the NIT semifinal game there. Mean Green closed the game on a 10-0 run. They advance to the championship game tomorrow night. They're going to play UAB out of the same conference. It'll be their 4th meeting on the year. The Blazers and the Mean Green. North Texas has won 2 of the previous 3. One other college hoops note, the reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Keontae George, announced yesterday that he is declaring for the NBA draft, one and done in Waco. From the NBA Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2023 announced yesterday, and it is a star-studded class. How about Dwayne Wade, the all-time Dallas Maverick, Dirk Nowitzki, Pau Gasol, Spurs legend Tony Parker, all have been selected and are elected to the Hall of Fame. And they'll go in alongside Spurs head coach Greg Popovich and WNBA legend Becky Hammon. Hey, so I asked you this earlier, Ty, but you were distracted doing something else. What do you make of Dwayne Wade going into the Hall of Fame the same year as Dirk?
That's my least favorite NBA player of all time.
Every Dallas Maverick fan will tell you that. Everyone, because of the NBA Finals, that Dwayne got all the calls and
rigged. Isn't it proved that
I don't know
was
if it's
rigged?
proven, but yes, I think there's a lot of evidence that it was not completely on the up and up. But Dwayne Wade is a Hall of Famer, and obviously when they retired the same year, 5 years later, they were going to go in together.
And they made fun of Dirk, too, in the 2011 finals when he was sick.
That's right. And, of course, Spurs, Tony Parker and Dirk went head-to-head in a lot of Western Conference battles over the years. Greg Popovich going in. Safe to say there'll be a lot of Texas flavor headed to that enshrinement.
For sure.
A lot of Spurs fans, Maverick fans, you got to go.
They don't have any Maverick fans, do they?
Right there, Ty Henderson.
I mean, like real Mavericks fan.
Mav fan for life.
Mav fan for life.
See, what are you doing?
Like a Minnesota fan.
I went to the NBA
Vikings
Finals
fan for
last time
life.
they were there.
Huh?
I was there at Game 3. They lost, but it was probably the greatest sporting event I've ever been to in my life. Greatest atmosphere.
Well, our previous producer and now great host down in Houston, Brad Kellner, BK, he tells the story as a Ranger fan for life.
I went to one of those games, too.
When he was in high school, he spent all of his savings on going up to see the The Rangers play the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series.
David Freese.
Oh,
One strike
It's
away.
really- it's really
He
known-
hates the Cardinals.
it's really known for Nelson Cruz not catching the final
Oh,
out.
can of corn.
Why is that dude in the outfield in the first place?
God. And then Lance Berkman, David Freese. That's just a nightmare. That is the worst. I mean, I hate to rub that. That's the worst don't finish the deal I can think of. You're about to win the World Series. And then of course,
Two opportunities.
you knew you were then going to lose Game 7. You just knew. Yeah, 2 opportunities to win.
One strike away.
And you,
Natali Feliz closing it out.
Neftali Feliz.
Threw some heat.
And can of corny.
And for the Mavericks, right? The Mavericks came back and got a championship after Dwayne Wade and the Heat beat them. But, by the way, that was even before Shaq. I mean, that was before LeBron James
That
joined
was
the
Shaq
Heat. That
and
was
Dwayne.
Shaq and Dwayne Wade back in the day, if you remember. But, I mean, at least the Mavericks then got a championship, right? They got the 2011
Yes, they
championship.
did.
But the
Is that-
Rangers haven't gotten that World Series back. It just lingers, it just hangs out there. And now they've gotten really bad, and now they're trying to get really good again. But that's still brutal.
Is that Mavericks team the most average, just kind of team that's won an NBA championship in recent memory? I mean, Dirk was obviously the star, but beyond that, it was like Jason Terry,
as far as
Jason
star
Kidd,
power,
Sean
it was just a
Marion,
really good team. I mean, it's just a really good team. Sean Marion was a good player.
JJ Barea.
The current coach, Jason Kidd, was a big part of that. He didn't
Mhm.
average a lot of points, but he was great with the ball, setting everybody up, playing defense.
Who's their big main rebounder then?
The big guy.
Brendan Haywood.
No.
Tyson Chandler.
Tyson
Tyson
Chandler.
Chandler was a beast.
Yeah, that was, and then they let him go, right? Remember, right after
Yeah,
the
that's
season?
when I thought, what the hell was that about?
He won
Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year the next year for the
Yeah,
Knicks.
for the Knicks. And that was, Mark Cuban still gets hit a lot of heat for that he didn't let that team come back and defend its crown. And
When they were going good, it just kind of, yeah.
now
They were all old.
They were old, and so you can see Cuban saying, "Look, we got it. We got our championship. Now we can." His idea was he could use the popularity and with Dirk and bring in another superstar and go bring in a free agent, and obviously it didn't work, and they wasted Dirk's final years essentially.
Vince Carter there?
No, he came the year after.
After that, right?
Yeah.
When Chandler was gone?
This says 86 Red Sox was worse. You're right. You're okay. I'll give you that one. 86 Red Sox. Bill Buckner.
Has there been a football team that's won a Super Bowl that everybody was kind of like, that team? The Ravens maybe that one year.
Oh no, we're talking about 86 Red Sox worse choking a championship away.
Choking.
Because the
We don't
Rangers.
talk about the Yankees.
If Nelson Cruz catches the damn ball, what was he doing?
He was like 5 feet off.
What are we doing? What kind of angle are you taking? It's just a pop up.
Come on.
On the warning track.
Nelly.
Go get the ball. It's the end. It's the final out of the World Series.
He blamed it on the lights or something.
I know
too.
he did.
The sun got me.
Yeah, fans want to hear that. The lights got my eyes.
The best thing that's happened to the Rangers since then is when Odor punched Jose Bautista in the face. That's probably the coolest thing.
And here, of course, here come the fans. Nelson Cruz would have caught it if it was a cheeseburger.
That dude's still playing.
No.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's still slugging. He is still slugging. But that was brutal. Yeah, the 86 Boston was terrible.
The Yankees choke job was hurtful
Which one?
against the Red Sox. They had lost 3 in a row.
Aaron freaking Boone.
Come on,
The
freaking
Warriors against Cleveland in the NBA Finals, and they came back 3-1.
Oh, yeah. LeBron and Kyrie Irving working together was pretty good.
How's Kyrie working out now? Everything getting better?
We're good.
Hey,
What do you mean we're
We
good?
beat the Pacers.
Wow.
they're ready for the season to be over. it
Yeah,
looks
see,
like.
I'm about to jump ship from the Vikings to the Lions with the Fighting Dan Campbells. I think I should do that this time in my life. It's time
Hold on, time out.
to get
Didn't
a new
we start
team.
this segment by you criticizing Maverick fans that there are no real Maverick fans, and now you're jumping from the Vikings to the Lions?
Well, who doesn't want to be a Dan Campbell fan, though?
Well, you can't criticize fans for being fake fans, and then you're jumping ship in your own
It's time.
division.
It's time to jump out of there. The Fighting Dan Campbells, they're liable to get Lamar Jackson because they're not going to, if they think they're going to roll with
They're
who
going
they
Jared
have.
Goff. They're
Jared
going
Goff
Jared
was
Goff.
really good
He
last year.
was really
Well, Dan Campbell didn't roll out drafting a quarterback. Remember, they draft 6. If there's a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson sitting there more of a project at the quarterback position, they may take him, knowing that Jared Goff can man the ship the next couple of years and then hand it over if the talent is too good. But I get the sense that they believe in Jared Goff in Detroit, And if they could have a premier player fall to them at 6, I mean, they could be top
They'll
corner on
find
the
or they need secondary help
and
for sure.
they could be in a position to take the best corner on the board. The kid out of Oregon or the kid out of Illinois, whichever one they have ranked highest, go with it and solidify your corner
Where do they
position.
have Ringo as? A second-round pick?
Top 50. Top 50. I agree with you on that Keely Ringo. I think he's going to be a good player.
Man.
And that because somebody texted and said, I saw a mock draft that had the Cowboys taking the Notre Dame tight end. All I'm saying with Michael Mayer, I like Michael Mayer a lot. He's probably more instinctual at the position than Darnell Washington, but Darnell Washington is a
freak
athlete, and he's been proven as a good player. Gosh, come on, you see
he's not like Freaky Pitch. He's 10 times the blocker when he's on.
He's a legitimate inline tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Rob Gronkowski. I mean, he can help your run game and in your pass game, and he becomes you don't think a quarterback's going to drop back and see that big dude at 6'7" across the middle?
I'll throw it a little bit higher.
Yeah. Go up and get it. Go back and watch some of the Darnell Washington tape. That dude, remember the game against Oregon when he caught a little flare pass and he started hurdling dudes, running people over?
Oh, no, he can run with the ball.
Golly, I like that player. As far as like a difference maker on an offense where you already got CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and Tony Pollard, that guy just becomes a real problem. A guy like that tight end that just, what are you going to do with him?
Cowboys
but he
fans,
also helps your running game.
He's a more talented Billy Joe Dupree. That's who he is.
Well, look, again, watch the tape. At Georgia, where they're running 2 and 3 tight ends, that dude's like a pulling guard. I mean, he's getting the corner, sealing the corner.
Oh, no, he can seal the corner now.
Yes.
He can seal the end of line because he's as big as anybody else playing out there.
I mean, Dalton Schultz didn't want to block anybody.
Well, they knew better than that.
Right.
They were trying, and there were times when they were trying, and I'm like, what are you trying that for? He's not going to block that guy.
Well, and that's my wonder with the Cowboys to bring this full circle and for our break is Bijan there. If do you take a player like that in the tight end and then take a running back later who can be the future at the position? I think there are some backs you get in the 3rd round, 4th round.
Because what you do with Bijan, you then say, okay, Bijan's now here. He's playing after 1 year. He's really playing.
Well, if you take Bijan, you've almost admitted that you made a mistake by franchise tagging Tony Pollard.
Well, you also say this: if Bijan is there with Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott still can't get it done, now it's time to go really look for a quarterback. Sorry,
they just extended the player.
No,
he's your quarterback.
He's not.
Come off of that.
No,
come off of that.
No. If you get Bijan there and that guy doesn't, and he's still throwing 15 picks. And throwing through cover, into coverage. No, he's not your guy.
Well, that stat we gave you would tell you he was always thrown into coverage because he threw into more tight windows than anybody.
Oh, tight windows. That means there are arms and hands.
That means guys aren't getting separation. Guys
yeah.
aren't getting open. But, yes, that's Mike McCarthy's job now. Big Mac calling all those plays.
I don't have to worry about it because they're going to run the ball.
Mike McCarthy will be fired before Dak Prescott's not the quarterback. You know that very well.
Mike McCarthy's going to win another Super Bowl.
Look at Ty is feeling frisky this morning.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, boy. We'll be back.
How are they going to do that behind the Commanders? They can't do that.
Speaking of the Commanders,
their new owner.
They got 2 ownership bids of $6 billion. We'll get you the details on that. Talk about this Texas baseball team. Craig Way's got his Craig Way report before the end of the hour, and the gossip and the blitz is coming. It's Beanie. All right, we've spent the break looking at the annual tradition unlike any other, the annual NFL owners meetings head coaches photo when all 32 head coaches gather.
Yeah.
I'm
going to have to say Pete Carroll looks like where's my applesauce there, Grandpa? Come on. I mean, really, how old is he now?
Pete Carroll's in his 70s, bro.
Come on. I love when people said he looks so young. I said he looks like he needs a bowl of applesauce.
He looks young for his age, but he's got a look on his face like he's Mr. Rogers or something. Yes.
Yes.
I will also say, somebody will tell me which coaches didn't make the photo because I think I only counted 29 when I counted them.
Wasn't it the year that Cliff Kingsbury looked like he was kind of disheveled for this photo?
Cliff,
or somebody
Cliff
missed
never
it.
looks disheveled, dude. That dude shows up, but he's no longer a head coach in the NFL. Here are my observations from looking at this. They're sitting on chairs. They're outside at the resort there in Phoenix, and then so there's a group sitting and then a group standing behind them. And I'll retweet this. But Bill Belichick and Andy Reid are sitting right in the middle together in chairs, and they look like they could be Mortimer and Randolph from Trading Places.
Come on, Mortimer. Come on.
But
Trading Places.
Yeah.
Duo. Yeah.
Because Belichick looks like a math professor at an Ivy League college, which is not surprising.
Yeah, I love the Commanders' head coach. Ron Rivera looks like, I beat cancer and I'll beat your ass. That's
Ron Rivera looks good. That's the one. He's in good shape.
He looks like he's ready to go.
Sean Payton, who's next to him, looks like he's making $18 million to be the coach of the Broncos.
Talking about TV, what TV has done to his rear end there.
Yeah, and next to him is Fly Sean McVay, who's looking like he's ready to go chase women.
Supermodel.
He's looking good.
Him and LaFleur.
Him and Matt LaFleur together at the end. Yeah, that's a pretty funny picture. And, Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys coach at the far right end.
He goes, who is that guy? I said, that's Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, he doesn't have a hat on. I know, you think I should recognize the brothers. There's only 4 of them. Yeah, that's Mike Tomlin, the Steelers coach. But he doesn't have a hat on, so I don't recognize him.
the brother all the way at the end there?
That's D'Amico Ryans. Head coach of the Houston.
The new head coach. Okay.
He's standing right over the top of Mike McCarthy, who looks like he's taking a crap. So
give him some paper. Wow.
Ty, you're the one that said that.
I know. Yeah, I never said that. He's a looker.
And I have to say there are at least 4 that I can't tell you who they are. Like I don't know.
How's Mike McDaniels looking in there?
He's there. He's sitting down. There he is. He's right next to Kevin Stefanski.
What about Robert Saleh? Is he like a mixer?
What?
I mean,
what?
Really? He's got a fabulous tan.
No, he's a strapping lad.
Persian.
Yeah, he is standing between 2 of the coaches. I can't tell you who they are.
He doesn't know those.
Is one of them Kevin O'Connell?
I guess so. One of them's Kevin. Like this guy and this guy. I don't know.
The one on the right is Kevin O'Connor, I believe. O'Connell, right?
If you say so.
Is that my guy?
That's your coach.
That's my guy.
That's my coach. Where is Dan Campbell? There he is, Dan Campbell, right back in the middle.
No, he looks a little like he was out the night before or this morning. Cracked one open at 9 before the picture.
Absolutely. They're out in Phoenix. It's vacation time. Okay, so there we go.
I remember when the hobo used to be in there, in that picture.
Well, Lovie Smith for 1 year?
No.
Talking about the Lovie Smith?
The guy used to coach the Chargers.
Oh, Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn, yeah. Who I said, who's that guy coming in here? Coming through the side door.
I will admit, you had to tell me who Mike Tomlin was because he didn't have a ball cap on. Just how I always see him.
I had to say that he had to tell me who the head coach was of the Chargers when we were at the combine. I'm like,
we walked right past him.
I said, that guy just came off the street.
I said, hey, coach.
He goes, hey, coach. I'm like, who is that guy?
All right, somebody said retweet the photo. So I am retweeting the photo that we've been talking about because that would make some sense. And you can make your own observations of the NFL
Saleh.
Coaches.
He's got that sweet caramel tan.
And someone reminded us that it was Matt Rule who was the schlumpy looking coach.
Oh, it was.
Remember him?
He was a mess.
Yeah, he looked like they called him, said, come on, get down here for the picture. And he rolled out of bed and rolled up to the picture.
Just put on a sweatshirt and came down here.
Yeah, he was not looking prepared. Unlike Sean McVay,
Sean McVay is clean and ready to go.
Right out of GQ magazine. And I'm sure he's missing his guy Cliff because he and Cliff would roll together. Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur from the Green Bay Packers looks like okay too. But yeah, there's your picture. We'll retweet that and have some fun with it. But the annual coach's picture from
There's Harbaugh. Where is Lamar? He's thinking, the hell, is Lamar playing or not this year?
Well, you got to think John Harbaugh sitting there going, the hell are we doing? Because the one thing that never gets talked about with the Ravens is if they trade Lamar Jackson, who's their quarterback? Hello? The guy you have your options.
If you trade with the Colts and you do get that pick, then you can
Colts aren't giving you the 4th pick. That's why I keep saying the Colts will do it after the draft, and they can give you next year's pick. They're not giving up the 4th pick. But then the problem becomes if they don't.
They're going to have to get a quarterback with that 4th pick.
Right, and if they don't take quarterback because they think they can pull the Lamar Jackson deal, what if because remember, the Ravens can match any offer he gets.
Bring Flacco home.
Joe Flacco still playing?
He played for the Jets. He started games for the Jets last year. He won a game.
I know.
Do not bring him home.
Bring him home.
Tubby Matt Rule. See what? Come on, man.
Tubby Matt.
Don't be body shaming people.
You were body shaming Big Mac.
I know. I just said he looks like he's taking a crap.
We all know what that means.
Well, no, that's how he's sitting.
No, look at him. He does. He's looking like, hey, anybody got a roll over there? I'm done.
Oh, you too.
And I'm serious. Like, Pete Carroll looks like somebody. I know he's a really handsome man for in his mid-70s, moving on towards 80. But he does look like he needs a bowl of Jello pudding right there. Is it lunchtime yet? Bring me my Jello.
We need to take a picture of the Horn staff and put that
out.
That'd
My
be good,
God,
too.
he's old.
Good. That'd be good. All right,
And Ron LaFleur, I mean, that dude,
Matt
LaFleur is talking about a young-looking dude.
Yeah.
Where's Shano at? Is Shano in pink
He's
right
up
beside
here in
him?
the top left corner. Third
He
over
is?
from the left, yeah. That's Kyle Shanahan. But again, there's several I can't tell you. I can't tell you there. And yes, Andy Reid. Look at Bill Belichick. He looks like he'd be like teaching physics at Cornell. But
He's looking for another concert to go to.
Why? Because I know we had the conversation in Hot or Not yesterday that Meek Mill, the rapper, was telling Robert Kraft that Lamar Jackson wants to play in New England.
Supposedly, the New England trade is not going to happen.
It's not now?
Reports said it's just not going to happen.
Okay.
So you can forget about that.
No, I don't pretend to know how that's going to play out. And here's what I don't know. Could you rescind the franchise tag for Lamar Jackson, which would essentially make him a free agent, but at the same time, could you then work out a trade with a team that doesn't involve, the 2 first-round draft picks? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen
Dude,
with this.
they need that draft pick.
But Lamar doesn't want to be there. That's the whole thing. Now you have a quarterback.
I agree with you 100%. It's the fact that I don't want to be playing here.
Right.
How hard am I going to really play?
He pinned his goodbye letter.
Yeah, that was that tweet, right?
Yeah.
He said he was goodbye to the Ravens fans. But
I got to believe Lamar likes football enough. He does not want to sit out at this age, at this young age.
26 years old, peak earning year.
And last time they saw him, he was limping around the complex.
Yeah, I don't
able to play, but he didn't.
I don't disagree with you at all. I just don't know how it plays out because he can say he wants to be gone from the Ravens, but the Ravens can match any offer he gets under the rules of the collective bargaining agreement, which is going to lock him in with the Ravens for the long haul, right? If say the Colts come in and say, okay, we're going to do this, or who should do it? The Atlanta Falcons, but they now say Desmond Ridder is their starting quarterback this year, the second-year man out of Cincinnati. They should do it, but won't. This is where I will keep wondering if someone's not. They're playing poker, and they're going to do it after the draft, so they don't have to give up this year's draft pick. And they can use the 2024 first-round pick and 2025's first-round picks to make this happen and acquire Lamar Jackson.
Says Pete Carroll wears diapers. Stop. Come on, man. Andy Reid is the most relaxed cat there out of all those guys. I got me some Super Bowls in my back pocket. I got Patrick Mahomes playing for me. And all you guys looking for quarterbacks, I got this guy.
You know how he's relaxed? I got Patrick Mahomes. Exactly right. I got Patrick Mahomes, so I can wear – and he always wears the Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, yeah. He's as cool as can be there.
He is. Well, he just won a Super Bowl. And I'll say, we'll get back into this in the next hour because Richard Sherman, the former Pro Bowl cornerback of the Legion of Boom defense, on a podcast went after Patrick Mahomes a little bit and Josh Allen and called them out for not standing more firm on guaranteed contracts.
Because they don't want to be selfish?
Well, look, a players' union member would like you to be selfish, right? Because your deal impacts everybody's deal. And I said this earlier, this is why the baseball players' union is so strong, that they don't let you take less, even if you want to, because it impacts everybody's money. And the baseball union has been so strong for so long because the players stay united on that. But it also, so Sherman went after Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen on this podcast for not, because Kirk Cousins got a fully guaranteed 3-year deal, remember, from your Minnesota Vikings.
He was also, was he not, for 2 years?
Well, yeah, because he was guaranteed as the franchise tag
right.
player.
He got franchised for 2 years.
2 years. 3.
3 years?
Or 2.
No, it was 2 years he was franchised.
And then he went to Minnesota. So yeah, he's had a guaranteed salary for 5 years now, Kirk Cousins. And Sherman, and then of course Deshaun Watson got the guaranteed deal from Cleveland. And Sherman was saying, well, come on, Mahomes, and come on, Josh Allen. You guys should have stood firmer on guaranteed contracts. But the easy retort is, baseball's not a salary cap league. The NFL is a salary cap league, Richard. And Patrick Mahomes knowing, I'm going to make $500 million potentially with this pick, and I'm going to do endorsements. I'm going to make plenty of money. But if I do take a little less, we can have a better team, and I can win Super Bowls.
Right.
Which is how Tom Brady did it year after year and took less, much less than market value. So if you combine rookie quarterbacks on rookie contracts like Russell Wilson was, and Tom Brady and a guy like what Mahomes is doing, taking less than he could get guaranteed to help the cap, those are the teams playing in the Super Bowl.
Doesn't $500 million seem to be enough?
But that's not all guaranteed, right? It's not all guaranteed. That a lot of that is not. So really what matters to the Chiefs is what they're paying him against their cap every year.
Right.
And he was willing through his agent Lee Steinberg to make that flexible. And, he'll defer money at times too. And what Richard Sherman and other players are saying is, no.
Go get your money now.
If we're ever going to get to guaranteed contracts like the other leagues have, we have to push for it. But at the same time, Patrick Mahomes wants to win. You're not winning if you're a $50 million cap hit every year to your team. You can't build the rest of the roster out. So that's the question. It's a salary cap league. Baseball's not capped. You can spend as much as you want, which is why it's right to stand firm and say, hey, I want every nickel and I want it guaranteed. But that's the Richard Sherman flap. But I'm sure Patrick Mahomes isn't sweating it too much because he's got another Super Bowl ring and a Super Bowl MVP has come off the greatest quarterback season of all time. He's doing okay. We'll be back. Load up your blitz. It could get a little rambunctious today. We like that on a Wednesday. Also, a little salacious gossip up in there on this Wednesday. But first, Craig Way. No games, just the gossip, brought to you by Bud Light, the icy cold, frosty Bud Lights. Hope you had some good ones last night watching or at the Texas A&M baseball game last night. And, Major League Baseball opening day, Buck, is tomorrow. Tomorrow.
The opener.
What's better than a ball game, a hot dog, and a Bud Light? Come on now.
Yeah.
Dell Diamond opens this weekend with a homestand. We'll preview that coming up later in the week. Looking forward to it. So many opportunities to enjoy the icy cold Bud Light, which are the official domestic beer partners of the Texas Longhorns. The Texas X's in the Texas OU game. Raise a Bud Light to Rodney Terry, the new head basketball coach at the University of Texas and fellow St. Edwards alum.
Now, is that the only time you eat a dog is generally at a ball game?
Yes.
That's never on the menu during the course of a whole year at your house, is
Nope.
it?
If I'm
Or at a
hungry
restaurant.
enough, I'll go to 7-Eleven and get one.
Ugh.
Oh, my God.
Off the weenie
Off the
rotisserie
rotisserie
thing?
thing?
Are there wings at 7-Eleven? Quality product.
Yeah, but they're
You know me, I'm a
behind little
7-Eleven guy. I'm an advocate of 7-Eleven.
I know, I am too, but the rotisserie, when they don't have the little tongs there. I mean, so you touch them with your hands and turn them over and stuff too, like I see the dudes do.
They have tongs.
Come on, man.
You think
I've
the
seen
lawn
the
guys are using tongs?
No, they're just rolling them with their fingers. That's disgusting, Ty.
Come on, man. No, I don't, even at a restaurant. But I hear Jeff Howe and Craig on Light the Tower talking about going to the Wiener Schnitzel all the time. It's only a baseball delicacy.
I've never had anything from Wiener Schnitzel.
But they taste really good at a baseball game, which is so it would be logical. Why don't you eat them other times?
Well, you can always
they're really good.
Go up north and get yourself the pizzle.
Oh, gross. The gross. Speaking of food, how about this? Woman in Australia has gone viral after she videoed her trick. She went to a concert where you could bring food, but you couldn't bring alcohol, right? You could bring a basket of food.
Sure.
And they checked her. She took a big loaf of bread and hollowed it out and snuck a wine bottle in there.
Very nice.
That's smart. Come on
Smooth.
now. Good work by you.
Way to give away the flask in the boot.
Yeah, they didn't catch her. She's poured it out of the
out of the bread.
Out of the bread.
Nice, good
out of the
job.
bread. Got to enjoy the wine instead of spending $12 a glass on one.
Ty, you wouldn't waste that bread, would you?
Hey, if you're me, I always like to give you the space.
Yes.
Updates. You love
going in space.
You love the eclipses and the.
I mean the last one. We'll never see another one again.
Yeah, no, not for a while.
Okay.
Well, just after sunset tonight, I believe it's tonight. Is this tonight? This is from the Washington Post.
Okay.
So tonight, immediately after sunset, 5 different planets are going to line up. You'll be able to see Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus.
You'll be able to see Uranus too?
That's right. Very big in space.
And we'll see Uranus too?
Yes, that's the last one. You got to look hard to see that one. But yeah, Venus.
That's the finale.
They're going to form an arch stretching from into the evening sky.
Okay.
So Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus will all be seen tonight right after.
I am, because the last phenomenon I saw was the space station when it went above my house.
See?
That was awesome.
And you saw it, right?
And I saw it. Yes, I did. Very clear.
So tonight, right after sunset, yell at your wife and say, honey, come out and see Uranus.
There you go. I think I will
Jupiter
do that.
and Venus. How about this? This is from the Daily Mirror in the UK, but this is a story out of Colorado. A woman who's been married, they're going with this guy, 3 kids with this guy. They do their, what's it called, 24andMe or 23andMe?
Okay.
Turns
What'd she find out?
Turns out they're cousins, bro. They're related.
Too late. That spit has been swapped. It's on now.
Related. Her long-term partner, Joseph, took the same test. Bombshell. They're cousins.
I always thought my cousin Kathy was really hot.
But they're not breaking up. They're sticking with it. They have 3 kids together.
Well, if you've gone in and done the deed.
What do those kids look like? Like 5 legs?
She now calls her husband her cusband.
That's cool.
Where do these people live again?
Colorado.
Oh.
Colorado.
No, not West Virginia. Colorado.
Well, I mean, would you just break up? Would you just end it and say, oh, we got to stop. We're cousins. Well, we've been married for 13 years.
Can't stop now.
We got 3 kids.
Can't stop the feeling.
I didn't know. You didn't know.
As long as they're not first cousins.
I'm glad I never kissed my cousin Kathy. I always wanted to, but I didn't. I didn't do it. She's really pretty.
Because you knew she was your cousin.
I knew she was my cousin. That's right. I knew right from wrong then.
Let's go. Should have moved to Arkansas. You could have married her. Let's go to your blitz.
They should get divorced right away. All right, first blitzer, you're up.
I think it's safe to say that Cliff Kingsbury did not miss posing for that coach's picture. He's got more important things and better things to take care of.
That's probably true.
That's true.
I saw his girlfriend at the beach.
Are they back from Bangkok?
Never. They never stopped.
They never stopped. Next blitzer, you're up.
Hey, Aggies, I got something for you so you can wipe up them tears.
Wow.
These burnt orange nuts.
Next blitzer, you're up.
Coach.
Yes.
Yeah, is Ty leaving the show to go work with Skip Bayless? I mean, that take on McFaddy winning a Super Bowl with the Cowboys? Come on.
McFaddy. Come on, we don't say that word here. Next blitzer, you're up.
You say that 5 of the planets are aligning today?
Yes, tonight.
Oh, yeah. You know what else is aligning with my Uranians? This is Tim Duncan.
Oh, my gosh. Next blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, this is Bev. Kearney? Yeah, I don't know about eating some hot dogs, but I'll eat some hot cats.
Jeez. Next blitzer, talk to us.
Coach Rodney, the bar's been set. No steps back.
Hey, Rodney said as much yesterday. The bar doesn't change. We want to be a Monday night program. Cut the nets down on a Monday night.
There you go.
Finish that Elite 8 game off. And I'd say this for Rodney Terry. He showed me a lot in this run. And I knew he was a great connector of people and a great recruiter and dynamic personality. But I thought his X's and O's were on point in this tournament. And unfortunately, against Miami, he didn't have his biggest piece to play in Dylan DeSue. And when a team went 4 guards against him, or 5 guards against him, he couldn't go to a big man. And that wasn't, he got like handcuffed by an injury. That's unfortunate. I like Rodney Terry.
I know there's still time to make decisions, but is his entire staff staying with him, or
that's what he indicated?
They are.
Yeah,
they want to.
He's got to meet with CDC on that,
Sure.
and we got to meet with those coaches and make sure they want to be back. And but sounded like it. Sounded like as much consistency and continuity as they can build into the program they're going to. That's what he said his first task was to meet with all the players and meet with the coaches, and let's move forward. All right. More on that coming up. Also, the PGA has moved from Austin to San Antonio. We'll preview that coming up. The Valero Texas Open tees off tomorrow. Get a full preview. Also, more on Rodney Terry, more on the Longhorns win at Aggieland. Having a great time with you on a Wednesday. What do you know? I give you some solar space information that you can enjoy, and all you guys want to do is send us texts about Uranus. Stop with it. You know what I mean? Don't forget about the other 5 planets you'll see tonight at sunset. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday. We're going to have a conversation coming up. You know, the Valero Texas Open is this weekend, coming off the WGC Dell Technologies match play. We had 64 top players in the world, with Sam Burns winning that. They've now headed down to San Antonio for the Valero event, the Texas Open, and they'll tee that off tomorrow. So we're going to talk with the marketing director, get some ideas how you can get down there and take in some good golf this weekend. Some of the big names that'll be there. J.J. Spawn was the winner of that last year. Jordan Spieth won it a couple years ago. So we'll get a preview. And, the busy weekend was here last weekend. Now they're going to be down in San Antonio, which is pretty cool. And, yeah, the more I see you, Ty Henderson, my producer, I can see where people thought you looked like Sam Burns coming through
I think it's the beard
Texas.
and lack of chin structure.
If you ever wonder what our producer Ty looks like, you can find him on his Twitter account and other places. But just look up Sam Burns, the golfer. He looks very similar. And you said you hung out with Sam Burns and had some pops back in the day.
Yeah, that's some frat parties back in the day. We shared a conversation or two.
Yeah. Okay. Good dude.
Yeah, seems like for the most part, it seems like all golfers are nice guys, good guys,
except for DeChambeau.
Yeah, well, that's once you make it to the tour. I'm talking college and high school golfers here.
When I'm thinking of unliked golfers, I think of Patrick Reed.
Well, I guess he did steal money from his teammates in the locker room in college. So,
and he's a cheat on the course. That's the worst thing you can be as a golfer. It's the gentleman's game. We don't do that. You don't take advantage of your opponents. But yes, and then I guess Brooks Koepka became a little bit prickly there. But he would just say he was competitive. But that's the way that goes. But, yeah, most golfers, good dudes. And Sam Burns would be one of those. We're going to talk about some PGA golf coming up. We're talking Rodney Terry, who is the new head coach of the Longhorns, not surprising. But I thought yesterday's press conference was really good. I thought the energy was solid. I mean, not solid. It was great. I mean, when he walked in the door and his entire team was there, and they gave him a standing ovation as he walked in, that said a lot to me. And then, DeLoss Dodds, the great Texas athletic director, made the trip to be there to support. And, of course, he hired Rick Barnes, who then hired Rodney Terry to be one of his top assistants and led to some of the best years the Longhorn basketball program has ever had. He was a part of that. And then I thought he came off really well. I mean, his connection with this city, with his job, with the fan base. There are no guarantees in a coaching hire, right? I mean, if they had introduced Jay Wright to be the new head coach yesterday, there'd been a lot of excitement, but there are no guarantees. I remember, gosh, Ty, you probably don't remember this, but remember when the Texas women's program hired Gail Gestenkors to come in, and she had been at Duke and just was a can't-miss hire, and it didn't work, and it just didn't work. She didn't have ties in Texas. She didn't know the program very well. And for whatever reason, it didn't work, and it didn't last. And I'm not saying that would be Jay Wright, but Jay Wright's connections and is all East Coast. And but I would have been excited if they landed Jay Wright, or the name Billy Donovan was kind of floated, who's coaching the Chicago Bulls right now. But in the end, to land, to just have Rodney Terry here when this all went down. And I'll say again, Chris Beard, we know the circumstances were what they were. And it was a bad situation. But in the end, I'll give Chris Beard a lot of credit, because I think Chris Beard built a program in a short amount of time that was built to withstand even something as awful as that and as difficult as that. I mean, that says a lot about the program he built, the players he brought into the program, the coaches he hired. I always believe this, Ty, A's hire A's. A's want to be surrounded by other A's, A-level people. B's hire C's. B people hire C people because they're intimidated by A's. So Chris Beard clearly hired A-level people, and Rodney Terry was one of them as a head coach. Chris Ogden another. Bob Donewald, who was with him at Texas Tech. And, the circumstances were outside of, the players' and coaches' control, but, that's a strong coaching staff, and then a roster to build in essentially 2 years that was able to, because everything you heard from Rodney Terry yesterday was this team was mature. And they were built to handle this, and did an unbelievable job. And I think it's fair to say that they did. And that's credit to Chris, but certainly credit to Rodney. And Rodney's plan is to just keep the momentum rolling. All right, so we'll talk more about that coming up, but we have a phone call coming in, and we're going to go to the Vaqueros hotline. What's your thoughts, though, on Rodney Terry? And we'll pick it up. Yes, he's a fellow St. Edwards alum like I am, and I knew Rodney at a young age in college. I got to meet him a few times, and, again, he's a charismatic guy who showed that he can coach. 29 wins this year, 23 wins after taking over the program, but a trip to the Elite Eight, and who knows, if Dylan DeSue doesn't get hurt, maybe playing in the Final Four this weekend. That says a lot. And I thought he came off really strong yesterday with his connections, with his vision for the program. And the recruits that are coming in already love the guy. So that speaks well for him and where the program can go. All right, so let's switch gears. We know we saw the best players in the world playing golf here in Austin this past weekend. And we're going to see them again down in San Antonio. The Masters is in a couple of weeks, but in between it's the Valero Texas Open down in the great city of San Antonio. And we're joined right now on our Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline by Craig Smith. He is the marketing director. Did I get that right, Craig? Are you the marketing director of the Valero Open?
Hey, that sounds great, Aaron. I'm the guy with the big target on my back this week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The big target. By
the way, are we nestled in between match play and the Masters? Or are they flanking the Valero Texas Open? I just want to make sure we kind of get that straight here.
You're kind of right about that, and this has become the players on the tour that are going to play love this thing. It's a real test of golf. What goes on, and the wind was up yesterday. I was thinking, man, let's hope this moves on to San Antonio because that course is tough when it's not windy and looks like the wind may be a factor. What's the plan for the weekend weather-wise at the Valero Texas Open?
Aaron, thank you for asking, man. Thanks for having me on the show. We're going to have maybe have a little bit of precipitation tomorrow, but other than that, I think it's typical Texas weather. We had a windy day yesterday. It was pretty chilly out here. Going to be nice today. A tick of precipitation tomorrow, and then the weekend is going to be a little warm, but it should be great. And I think the winds are going to die down some. You're right. This golf course tends to play top 2 or 3 most difficult on the PGA Tour as it was designed. And then when you throw a little wind in there, it can certainly add an extra challenge to these 144 professionals that are going to be teeing up tomorrow at TPC San Antonio.
That will be the event. And J.J. Spawn is the defending champion. Jordan Spieth, didn't Jordan win it 2 years ago? Am I right about that?
Jordan did win it 2 years ago. He was our 2021 champion, so he defended it at the 100th anniversary last year. Jordan, unfortunately, is not going to be playing with us this year. His schedule didn't allow, and he's here for a couple of years, and he'll maybe try to switch his schedule around and add some events that he hadn't played before. And certainly we understand that, but we certainly love to have Jordan here and welcome him back whenever it works for him to come back to the Alamo City.
I know, J.J. Spawn is the defending champion. Matt Kuchar was in the running last year along with Matt Jones. Talk about the field this year, and if our listeners are able to get down there and take in some golf this weekend, who are the top players they're going to see?
Yeah, and by the way, you can go to ValeroTexasOpen.com. We still do have tickets available each day right now. Matt Kuchar always plays this golf course well. Defending champion Charlie Hoffman, our past champion Charlie Hoffman, who's made more Valero Texas Open cash than anybody. I think he's going to be one to watch. Andrew Landry, another Texan, Jimmy Walker, local San Antonio guy. Ricky Fowler's probably playing some of the best golf he's played in some time, so we're excited to watch him put a peg in the ground. Interestingly enough, Kyle Westmoreland, who's an Air Force Academy grad, and the first Academy grad to get his tour card, is playing this week in Military City, USA. So I think we'll see a lot of servicemen and women from the installations coming out to cheer him on. So it's going to be a great field. Cole Hammer, UT kid is going to be playing with us this week. So it's going to be an interesting mix, and just can't wait to see the guys put a peg in the ground tomorrow morning and see who's going to be ultimately hoisting the Champions Trophy on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. Hideki Matsuyama will be down there as well. So some names that can, and I know that Ricky Fowler story is going to be followed by a lot because he's trying to qualify for the Masters, and that's a lot of incentive for guys who are out of those invites and to try to come win this thing and get yourself into Augusta the following week.
Yeah, I think that's always a great storyline. J.J. Spawn certainly did it last year. I think Corey Connors a couple of years ago was we have 4 open spots here, and Corey was the last guy to get into the tournament. Ends up winning the Valero Texas Open, going on to the Augusta, and is a great ball striker. And he's very competitive week in and week out. And so I think he's going to be another one to watch here at the Valero Texas Open for sure. Yes, sir.
I talked to a lot of people last week.
Luke Donald, European.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Luke Donald's a good one. Hey, so I talked to a lot of people last week out at Austin Country Club that have kind of figured that course out and where to navigate and where to put themselves to see the most action over the course of time that's been out there. For our audience that maybe had the bug this weekend and wants to get down to San Antonio, what's the game plan to see the most golf and the best vantage points down there at the TPC San Antonio?
Thank you for asking. This course is really easy to get around. It does have a hill country feel to it with about 100 feet of fall from the 1 tee going out, coming back to 9, and then going out from 10 to 18. But 10, hole 10, hole 16, and hole 18 kind of frame out a gathering area we call the backyard. And we have a lot of great food and beverage there. We have some great spirit sponsors in Garrison Brothers, which is an Austin-based company for sure. High Texas, right down the road. Tito's is going to be out there. So I think if you go to 10, 16, and 18, you're going to see all the golf you want to see right there, and it's very easy to navigate between those 3 holes.
And for folks who've never been down.
And our course is designed such that if you do want to follow Ricky off number 1 and you want to follow him for 18, it's a relative walk. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for our audience who have not been down, I mean, you guys are in northern San Antonio, so it's a drive that, you're not going all the way into downtown to the Riverwalk. Tell folks how to be a part of it and how they can get those tickets and how to be at the course on whatever day they want to be there.
Sure. Yeah, please visit ValeroTexasOpen.com. You can order tickets. We have some ground tickets available. We also have an opportunity with an upgraded ticket. It's $100 per guest per day, and you get into our Ultra Club, which is sponsored by Michelob, which is at 16T. Great place to watch golf. A lot of fun and very economical way for maybe a young person or even a young family to come out to the Valero Texas Open and enjoy a great experience. Our general admission parking is at River City Community Church, which is take 35 to 1604, and then you exit right there, way into town from Austin, park there, and get a short shuttle bus ride, and it'll take you right to the golf tournament. And have a great day out here at TPC San Antonio.
Looking forward to it. Folks getting down there. Weather looks good. It's after day 1, and then watching the coverage all weekend long from the Alamo City. Craig Smith, the marketing director and man with the big target on his back this week down there in San Antonio. Hey, Craig, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, and have a great event. We look forward to watching it and seeing the champion.
Thanks so much for your time. I hope you and your listeners have a blessed day, and hopefully we'll see everybody down here this weekend.
There you go. There you go. You got the bug. You got the bug after watching the Dell match play. Get on down there. And then, of course, the Masters the following week, which is pretty cool. We got some texts in while we were talking to Craig about Rodney Terry. This says college basketball is all about the portal and NIL. Well, that's true. It's a new day and age. And that's why I say, I mean, it's there are going to be some coaches who handle it well and some coaches who don't handle it well. That's the uncertainty with Rodney Terry. But we know he was a part of building this roster side by side with Chris Beard. I mean, those two. I mean, think about this, what we learned about Rodney Terry over the course of this year. We know he can coach. We know he can lead men and young people and connect. But if you want to talk about roster building, well, Chris Beard was still the head coach. The two-person recruiting class that the Longhorns brought in with 2 5-star players, A.J. Johnson from Los Angeles and the best player in the state of Texas from Duncanville,
Ron Holland.
Ron Holland. Both recruited by Rodney Terry. He was the lead recruiter on both players. He also is the lead recruiter on the number 1 player in the state of Texas for 2024 out of Dallas Lake Highlands, who is he's a guy that might go straight to the professional ranks and start in the G League. But if he does want to go to college, he may end up here. He's a Texas lean by a lot of the recruiting observers. So he can recruit, and recruiting is the high school recruiting and the portal. I mean, I think this Texas roster with its potential next year is exactly how you want to build a roster in this day and age of the NIL. You want to recruit the best players from the high school ranks that you can get. Arterio Morris and Dylan Mitchell were both 5-star players coming into Texas. The 2 players that are coming in, I just mentioned, 5-star players. But you also want to accentuate that with veteran players. The 4 players that are leaving for Texas that are out of eligibility, they were the backbone of your team. I mean, it was Marcus Carr, it was some Jabari Rice, Timmy Allen, Christian Bishop. I mean, these were dudes. And so, yes, you have to, replace them with guys that are here. Dylan DeSue, if you talk him back, Dylan DeSue still has eligibility. What's his decision going to be? Rodney Terry said he's going to meet with all his team, everybody on the team. Dylan DeSue, I got to think, it's just me thinking for Dylan. I mean, he was playing his best basketball right when he suffered an unfortunate injury. He was the most outstanding player at the Big 12 tournament. He was one of the best players in the NCAA tournament for a weekend, and his performance against Penn State was all-time great for Texas in a tournament game. And then he can't play. I mean, that's unfortunate. I got to think there's got to be, and I want to keep that going. Let's come back and be a part of that. Or, at his age, he could, he's transferred from Vanderbilt. He's been through some injuries. There is an idea that maybe he wants to go play professionally, but those are discussions that are going to be had. But let's play it positive that he does come back. Well, he's kind of the cornerstone in the pivot. Dylan Mitchell and Ron Holland are also going to be frontline players. Those, Dylan Mitchell has to improve his offensive game. Now, look, Dylan Mitchell could explore the transfer portal. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but that's the day and age we live in. He and Arterio Morris, those conversations have to be had. But we know Brock Cunningham's coming back. Alex Anamekwe is going to be coming back. He's another young player. We saw Rowan Brumbaugh there, the young point guard out of the East Coast. He's back a part of this team. But, yes, I mean, when you say portal and NIL, I mean, you've got to hit the portal. There's no question.
How aggressive do you think they'll be in the portal?
Well, I think a lot depends, Ty, on who comes back. Right? I mean, if everybody that can come back comes back, and you add 2 freshmen, but I think you're sitting at 8 or 9 players at that point. Because if everyone comes back, Tyrese Hunter, Arterio Morris, Dylan Mitchell, Dylan DeSue, Brock Cunningham, Anamekwe, I mean, there's 6, and then you add 2 freshmen to that, that's 7 and 8. Brumbaugh's 9, so you're sitting with 9 players. But so yeah, I think you would get in the portal and see what if that is your team, the core of your team. Where are you weak? Where can you add? What can you add in the portal? You heard Rodney Terry say it yesterday. We want to be dynamic. We want to. He actually, talked to. I mean, we talked to Jerry Hamilton yesterday. We talked about that Miami team that went 3 and 4 guards. That wouldn't be surprising with Rodney Terry if that was the type of team he wants to be. They want to be able to beat you in a lot of ways. They want to be versatile, which is what all coaches say. But I think we knew what Chris Beard's style of play was. We knew what Chris Beard was. We saw it for several years at Texas Tech. It was very obvious what style of play and what type of player Chris Beard was going to bring in here and what type of program he was going to have. A little more uncertain with Rodney Terry. I think he's going to try to put his own stamp on this. He wants to be ultra athletic. He wants to be able to defend like crazy on one end, but also give you fits on the defensive end of the floor with athleticism. I think you'll see less of. I think it'll be a more up-tempo game with Rodney Terry than it was with Chris Beard.
It definitely looked more. The offense looked more open and free-flowing once he took over. I
think that was one of the real credits to Rodney Terry's team, that there was a sense, even in one year and into the second year, that with Chris Beard, guys were kind of always looking over their shoulder, that if they took a bad shot or two or things didn't go right, they were going to come right back to the bench, and Chris Beard was going to yank them. And that was Chris Beard's way of motivation. But, run our offense, run our sets, do our things, do it right. Rodney Terry, they did play a looser brand of basketball. They did play a more freeing brand, which was more more fun to watch, and it led to great success. And, so I think they're going to push towards that. But look, the other coaches, Bob Donewald on the offensive end, Rodney Terry will still be the guy really running the defensive side of the ball. Chris Ogden, if he stays around and is still a part of this, I think he will be. He's a big part of this coaching staff. Chappell is still there. So there's a lot to like about the continuity that you can keep in this program. And again, if you saw the team give the coach a standing ovation as he walked in, they're already bought in. They're in with Rodney Terry. So, and as Rodney said yesterday accurately, your best recruiters are your own players. If you're running a good program, your players recruit other players. As it was told, I heard Craig Way say it yesterday that it was Marcus Carr that helped recruit Tyrese Hunter. He was a big part of that recruitment. Because they grew up near one another, and that when Jabari Rice was considering coming to Texas, he talked to his teammate Teddy Allen, who said, "Hey, call my brother Timmy. Call Timmy. He'll tell you exactly what's going on at the program." And both reported back, this is the kind of place you want to be. And, of course, both came, and both were integral parts of the success they had this year. So there's some golf, there's some basketball. We'll take a quick timeout, come back more on the NFL and the NFL coaching conversations of the morning. The Longhorn baseball team finding win number 15 in a row down at College Station, a place they hadn't won in 12 years. More details on that coming up. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK, folks. So glad to be being back to, if you're watching on our Twitch channel here at hornfm.com, you can see I'm not wearing my helper glasses any longer because I had the Sharp Vision Modern LASIK procedure several years ago now, but developed here into my 50s a cataract in my right eye that was making it very cloudy, and it's like having a smudge on the back of your eye, and had to go in on Friday last week and get that removed and replaced with a new lens, and look at me now. No glasses whatsoever, and that's thanks to Sharp Vision, because even before the cataract, before I went to Sharp Vision, I did have to have helper glasses to read screens and read up close, but they helped me correct that, and now I got the cataract removed, and I'm good. And back to seeing 20/20 again. It is tremendous. It's so liberating just to not. I still feel down on my chest where I hang my glasses when I always have to have them, right, or else you can't see things. And now I don't. I don't carry those glasses anymore. I'm good to go. And that's what you can have when you go to Sharp Vision. 9 out of 10 people who take the simple eye test discover that there is a procedure for you to get you through and get you corrected out of the glasses and out of the contacts. That's 9 of 10. They also have great financing options. They've got the ability to use your FSA rollover funds, that pre-tax dollars to make this happen. And they have procedures start as low as $495 per eye. So call them. They've been the best of the best 3 years running by the readers of the Austin American Statesman. It is Sharp Vision Modern LASIK. 596-2020 is the phone number. That's 512-596-2020. Book an appointment online at sharp-vision.com. That's sharp with an E, -vision.com. It's Sharp Vision Modern LASIK, the official LASIK provider of Austin FC. B&A on a Wednesday. Bucky had to run out of here, had an appointment to get to, so we'll get you to the finish line, myself and Ty and you, on the show of the people. We were talking about Texas basketball on the way to the timeout, and have that Ron Holland cut ready there, T.Y., because Ron Holland was participating in the McDonald's All-American game and the McDonald's All-American week. And I read this from Yahoo Sports. They said McDonald's All-American game, top 8 performers who impressed scouts on hand. Of course, we had a week of drills, several days, and number 1 on the list, Ron Holland, coming to Texas out of Duncanville. So there's a small separation gap between the top players in this senior class, and Holland stepped on the court with something to prove in the first 2 days of practice in front of NBA scouts and executives. He has a great length, 6'8", consistently knocking down tough shots during drills and scrimmage, has a lot of upside as an NBA wing, and made a strong first impression. His ball handling and decisions when getting downhill are still areas of improvement. After being a little turnover prone during his senior season at Duncanville. So he's, it just sounds like Ron Holland has a chance to be an immediate impact player for Texas next year. It's still going to be a veteran team, I think, especially if Tyrese Hunter is now a third-year guy at the point. Dylan Mitchell and Arterio Morris have a year under their belt. Brock Cunningham's in his 25th year. Dylan DeSue will be a veteran player, obviously, if he returns. So there's some experience on the roster, and I think they'll add more of that. I think that's what you'll be looking for in the portal is experience and toughness and that kind of stuff. But Ron Holland's going to bring a dynamic player. If you've not seen him, Ron Holland kind of looks like Dylan Mitchell, body type wise, but he's a lot more advanced with his offensive game. He's probably not the athlete as far as the leaper that Dylan Mitchell is, but he's Duncanville's primary ball handler a lot of times, and which can lead to some of those turnovers. But he's a really good player. Hard-nosed. And we heard from Jerry Hamilton yesterday, who told us that, he felt like after watching that he really grew up his senior year. He was a little bit immature, he thought, but really took the mantle of being the best player in the state of Texas to heart and played like it this year for Duncanville. So that'll be interesting. Also, A.J. Johnson, the 5-star guard out of Los Angeles, coming in here for Rodney Terry and the Longhorns. This says RT showed us that he's a strong leader. Strong leaders attract other strong leaders. He's the perfect man to lead us to the future. This says RT has reached out to the 7-foot center from Oregon. There you go. Well, that's getting the portal. I mean, I don't think Texas is going to rest on what they've got. I think they've shown you, whether it was Chris Beard or Rodney Terry, the portal is there to be used. They believe they have a great. Let's hear Ron Holland on why, even through all the turmoil here this season at Texas and what was going on, he decided to stick with his commitment to Texas. Like he signed. I mean, they signed back in the early window, so he is a signed commitment. He would have to opt out of that. But, he came here to play with Chris Beard as the head coach, but Rodney Terry was the lead recruiter. Here's Ron Holland from this week.
I feel like Coach RT does, he's really well trusted with his guys. He not only does he coach them, he makes sure that they're good on and off the court, meaning he gets in your personal life to make sure that you're just good, mentally. He tries to teach a lot of life lessons and that you can carry with you in becoming the young man that I'm going to be. Just knowing that he really cares about his players and he's not going to give up, I feel like that makes him the players' coach.
All right. So there's Ron Holland, who seems to have a good head on his shoulders, and he's looking for more than just basketball. He wants a mentor and a leader, and as the texter just said, I think that's one of Rodney Terry's strongest suits. He's got a lot of them, right? He just seems like the genuine article, seems like the real deal, and that comes through. It's one of those like it or leave it kind of things. He just is who he is.
I mean, if you saw the post-game interviews in the locker room after the loss, the things the players had to say about him, I mean, they made it all about him and less about themselves, which I thought was really cool.
That's right. And he gets it. That's the one thing I would say about Rodney. Followed his career since I knew him at St. Ed's. I kind of kept the path. And he was here with Rick Barnes through the best years that they had. He understands what this place can be. And now he's played through the 2 years since he's come back and what the Moody Center can be as a home court advantage and an attraction for young guys to come play in and be a part of. That was one of the big knocks against Texas. It's a football school, not a basketball school. Have you seen the arena they play in? It's empty. It's quiet, dark. Who wants to play in that arena? I want to play where it's rocking and rolling. Well, that's now the mood. And here's Rodney Terry yesterday talking about what the brand Texas means. It's not lost on him. He didn't go to Texas, but he coached at Texas for a decade. He went to St. Ed's. He grew up in South Austin, learning to be a coach, and he understands what the brand the University of Texas can attract.
This brand right here is incredible. I mean, it's powerful. It made me leave a head coaching job. because of the experience and because of just the elite. It's the elite of the elite to be at the University of Texas. We have elite coaches on this campus. We have elite student athletes on this campus. Obviously we'll start with our recruiting. We always like to start in the state. We want the best players in the state of Texas to come and play for the University of Texas. We feel like we have the best of all worlds. We have incredible academic, education that you're going to get while you're here. You're going to get an elite level basketball experience. You're going to live in one of the best cities in the country and continue to grow. And you're going to have an incredible alumni base that you're going to continue to have an opportunity to network with and get to know as well. But we can go anywhere. We start within the state. We can go nationwide. We can go international because of this brand. It's a very, very powerful brand, and there's a lot behind it.
All right. So there's Rodney Terry, and you can kind of hear the excitement in his voice. I mean, he recruited at places like Fresno State. Nothing against Fresno State. That's not the brand of Texas, and it's a different type of player you can recruit there and UTEP than you can here. And, again, that's where I say he gets it. He understands what this opportunity can be. And, he's kind of there's got to be some confliction to it that, it happened because of the situation with Chris Beard, but in the end, that wasn't his doing, and he's now got this opportunity to run this program and, make it his own. And I think that's exciting for him. And, he did say that Chris Beard did reach out to him yesterday and congratulated him and said he was happy that he got the post. And now Chris Beard will begin his new world at Ole Miss, and Rodney will take the reins in this spot. And obviously we'll be here to cover it and watch it. We've seen a lot of coaching changes at Texas over time. And some work out and some don't. This one seems like I felt like Chris Beard was a great hire at the time, and I think that shown to be good outside of his own personal situation. But I think Rodney Terry's going to be a really, really good hire. And he also, when I say he gets it, he pointed out something we talk about a lot. The alignment above him is stronger than it's been in a long, long time. We said that when Sark was hired. We talk about it a lot. But when you see Jay Hartzell and Kevin Eltife and CDC, those three guys, man, they're together. They're together on these things. They're unified on what's good for Texas athletics. And, those were the architects of the move to the Southeastern Conference. They helped undermine build the Moody Center and all that's gone on there. There's just and for folks who are new to Texas, new to town, there was a long stretch right after DeLoss Dodds walked out that there was not a lot of leadership from the president's office and not a lot of leadership from the athletic department. And it was rudderless in a lot of ways, and it led to a lot of the mediocre performances we saw the Longhorns have. And it does feel like the Directors' Cup last year is the number one athletic department in the country for success on the courts and fields and in all the arenas. They're on their way to doing it again this year for Chris Del Conte. And, as we say, if football and basketball can lead the way, that really puts you in a strong spot. And basketball had a great year that I think they can build on in football. A lot of expectation that this can be one of those kind of seasons for the Longhorns with Steve Sarkisian. We'll talk about that more into the week because the Longhorns did have their 7th practice of spring, which means they're halfway through their 14 practices. Of course, the 15th will be the spring game 2 weeks from Saturday. So we'll dive deep into Texas football again tomorrow as the Longhorns go through another workout. We're going to hear from Steve Sarkisian as well tomorrow after practice. We also know the Longhorn baseball team made it 15 straight last night. Impressive win on the road in a hostile environment at Texas A&M. Their first win there in 12 years at Olsen Field, 5-2. And I say impressive. A lot to like about it, right? You got good pitching. You only allowed 6 hits. You got some timely defense that you made and a closer in Zane Morehouse who showed that bulldog mentality to get those final 2 outs with runners on base in the 9th inning. 6-out save for him. Lucas Gordon climbed the mound in the 7th and threw just 15 pitches to get you through the 7th inning, 3 outs, and did a great job. So obviously David Pierce had a lot of emphasis on that game. Wanted to get it on the road. Went to 2 of his weekend workhorses to close it out, to get those final 9 outs and get out of there with a victory. I think on the offensive side, you would have said, man, they had 15 hits. Probably should have had more than 5 runs, and it shouldn't have been as close as it was. But that's some credit to the Texas A&M pitching staff for pitching in big spots. But, yes, you would have liked to have gotten more out of 15 knocks. But you got 15 hits. So the offense, the defense, the pitching, and that's how you win 15 in a row. They'll head to Stillwater this weekend. And keep in mind, tomorrow on the show, 8:30, we will visit with Texas head coach David Pierce, our weekly visit. Talk about his mood has to be pretty good. They've won 15 in a row, and they're doing a lot of things well in a lot of phases of the baseball game. So good stuff going on. We'll come back. When we do, we'll reset our top stories, get you set up for Light the Tower and the rest of the day on a busy Wednesday here on the Horn. I'll be coming back on the other side. Callahan's General Store, folks, bringing it strong for 45 years right now, and that's what Callahan's is all about. Has been for 4 decades plus, 4.5, and they're still locally owned and family operated. That's the thing, right? They're local, but the family is in the Callahans. My man Charlie Wilson's still running that show and doing it the way Murray Callahan, who recently passed away at 93 years old. That's just how they operate. It's about the supplies you need. Whether it's the Western wares, the housewares, the hardware, the garden section, your pet food and pet supplies for your animals, everything that you need. It's supplies, but at the same time, it's a lot of locally sourced stuff from right here in Central Texas, and it's provided by great people who are going to help you get the right piece of equipment that you need, or the right. We talk about getting your yard in shape for the spring. It's not just walk through the aisles and try to figure it out. They're going to help you figure out what you need, where that's right for your yard. What are the right products and processes you need to do? How much do you apply? When do you do it? All those things that you won't find other places, you will find at Callahan's General Store. So you walk out of there feeling confident that you're going to go home and do it right, and do it right the first time. And that's what Callahan's is all about. That's what separated them for 45 years, right there at 501 Bastrop Highway, and they're still there, still rocking and rolling between downtown and the airport, still getting it done. Find them online at callahansgeneralstore.com, and always remember, it's always a good day to make it a Callahan's Day. Good stuff this morning. Appreciate everybody's contributions on the Specs text line, including Craig Flowers, our colonel. The high ground on Saturday morning says, FYI, guys, this is the first Final Four without a McDonald's All-American playing in it. Good little nugget there. Yeah, we know San Diego State's got the 7 seniors and 2 juniors. We know Miami, best team money could build, which is pretty good. Plus, they have a really good coach in Jim Larinaga. Getting it done there. UConn is a 4 seed, and they're the favorites now. And then there's that Florida Atlantic team that came out of nowhere to get to the Final Four. Will be fun this weekend. Also this week, it's opening day in Major League Baseball tomorrow. We'll dive in there. We'll get some great guests tomorrow to preview that. In addition to our conversation with Texas head coach David Pierce, we'll get the baseball side of things. It sounds like, from all accounts, we started the training, spring training, and even before the Longhorns started, the big conversation piece was the pitch clock. And, man, the reports from Major League Baseball, the coaches and players coming out of the spring training is they don't like it. They love it. They love the pitch clock. I mean, the average game in spring training last year was 3 hours and 1 minute. Spring training games, 2:36. So they shaved nearly a half hour off of the average time, which, the reason they did this was to speed just the dead time when nothing was happening. And all it was a pitcher walking around the mound and rubbing up the baseball and, fixing his jock strap or whatever he's doing, and the batter in the batter's box. It just sped everything up. Everything's moving a little quicker. And the players love it. Managers love it. And no controversy at all through spring training. So I think it's going to be embraced and speed up games. And obviously the network, the league did it because TV networks were saying, look, these games are too long, y'all. I mean, we're paying you a lot of money for these ball games, but these 3-hour, 40-minute ball games, that we need to fit them into a 3-hour window where we can and more consistently, which was the push, and it does. I think they're going to do that. So excited for the baseball season to open tomorrow. Of course, Round Rock Express will open their season on Friday night out at the Double D, so we're excited about that. Excited for the Final Four, and obviously part of a busy week. And we talked earlier in the hour to Craig Smith from the Valero Texas Open PGA Tour down in San Antonio this week. No McDonald's All-Americans. And that may continue, by the way, TY, because teams are going to follow the lead, and they're going to build their rosters through veteran players. And a lot of times those aren't McDonald's All-Americans. And we also know that the G League in the NBA is a lot more robust than it was, more of a developmental arm of the league. And we're about when the new collective bargaining agreement kicks in 2024, the one and done rule's done. The NBA is going to allow high school players straight to the G League and straight into the NBA if they can make it. And that will further, I think, age college basketball, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a better brand of basketball.
It's definitely having more parity is always a good thing in any sport. And this year has been awesome to watch because there's not, aside from like the little stretch Purdue had in December, where they were clearly they were the number one for I think the longest, besides Houston, of any other team this season. And then obviously they lost in the first round to a 16 seed. But I think we'll see more and more of those kind of upsets in the tournament moving forward if a lot of these top flight prospects go straight to the NBA or G League, like you said.
Yeah, look, it's cyclical. We go back to when John Calipari had all freshmen and one and done kind of players, and he won with it.
Do you think that kind of team can ever win again?
I'll say never. I won't say never, but I don't think it's likely. But at the same time, it's going to evolve. I think that's fair to say, and I do think it evolves as an older sport, which is good. As we talked with Jerry Hamilton yesterday, I think it becomes more like college baseball, where the more the NBA develops its G League and embraces the idea of young players, and they develop them, not put them into college for a few years. They have an arm and ability to develop those players with really good coaching and teams, then it's going to be more and more players are going to pick that avenue. They're going to pick the role of going straight into that, much like great high school baseball players choose to go straight into the minor leagues and work their way up. But, the problem in the NBA the reason they put the one-and-done rule in is they didn't have any type of minor league system, so they'd bring these 18-year-old kids into a grown man's league who weren't ready, and they'd flounder.
It's different than baseball, though, because there's so many just teams and levels. And
well, that's the beauty of baseball, right?
Each team of basketball.
You can work your way into, but you don't step foot on a Major League Baseball field until you've proven yourself at 3 or 4 levels of minor league baseball.
I'm just saying a lot of these high school kids could make very bad decisions if they decide to jump, and their lives, their playing career could be ruined.
Well, for sure, and that's the decisions they have to weigh. But I'm always have been for 18-year-olds to have options, and that's, in the NFL you still don't have it. But I like the idea of hockey and baseball where you can choose to climb your way through the minor leagues and be a professional player immediately or come to college. And if you're going to – but the one thing I'm saying with that is if you're going to come to college, you're probably coming for 2, 3, 4 years. You're not coming to be 1 year and be gone. You're coming here like a college baseball player would and plan to be here for 3 years at least and develop under good coaching on this level and then back into the NBA draft or the Major League Baseball draft. I do think it's a good thing for the sport of basketball, which, I mean, the TV ratings would tell you that this year's tournament was through the roof gangbusters. I mean, the viewership was off the charts. Now, does that carry into the Final Four with a 4 seed, 2 5s, and a 9? I don't know if it's going to bring TV eyeballs. But the tournament itself over the first 2 weeks, huge TV ratings. And I think people liked what they saw.